What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, they guys, I'm like, it's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movies, so I'm like, kiss. But
oh God, what a sea of humanity.
Hello. Welcome in to 52/1994, your live movie conversation podcast where we dive deep into the movies of 1994. This is our last one for 94, that is. I'm your host, Cody, and I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my fantastic co-host, Ryan. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello. Good to be here.
No, I just now looked at your name. I'm sorry. It's very funny.
Last minute, I'm like, oh, I have to come up with a name.
I don't know how many people get it, but
I don't understand The Bank. Is that from the movie?
that is from the movie.
All right, well, let's get into it. Tell me all about it.
We're doing perfect right now. Well, if this is your first time joining us, we're glad that you're here. Every week, 52 weeks to be exact, we explore a different film from 1994, whether it's a classic hit, quirky gem, or somewhere right in the middle. We dive into that. The year's important releases. We'll talk about them in detail as best we can, and then chat about what we've seen lately, or if we have seen anything lately that may want to recommend to people. Our monthly category, we usually do them by monthly categories. I should have said that right off the bat. But our monthly category this month to end the year is called Read It and Weep, where the movies that we're talking about are all based on books. Today's movie of choice is called Nobody's Fool. And before we jump into that, Ryan, thank you again for joining us. Have you ever seen the film that we're talking about?
Nope, it's one of those titles that always like floated around, being a fan of movies and with a great cast and everything, but I didn't really know what it was about and had never seen it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was too. And when you search for this movie on Google or anything, you come up with like a 2019 Tiffany Haddish movie. Yeah. And
I
I'm
wanted
like,
to look into that. I was like, well, maybe that's interesting. Maybe they're connected. And I thought about it. I was like, there's no way they're connected.
there's no way.
There's no way.
No way at all. And yeah, I'd never seen this movie before, but like you said, it does have a kind of a great cast and a late in life performance by Paul Newman. Not that late in life, but definitely on the back half of his career for Paul Newman. And what was your first impression?
I really loved it. I think this movie is really good.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was thinking about how it's kind of sad, kind of saccharine, and kind of slow. That I worry about movies like this. I worry they're going to get forgotten. You know, that nobody will go back and rewatch them over and over again or talk about how good it is. But when you just look at all the different like moving parts in a movie coming together very well with a clear vision, with everybody on screen and behind the camera, knowing what they're trying to accomplish, but still trying to accomplish this mild, soft thing. I think it's a beautiful like film accomplishment.
Yeah,
we should be louder about those types of movies that are gentle like this.
Yeah, it's a thing that's been going away for the last like 20 years. Are these kind of 20 to 40 million, I guess, as prices rise, these movies cost a little bit more. So like 20 to 40 million dollar dramas or dramedies that we talk about it when we talk about like erotic thrillers. Those have gone by the wayside. There's not a ton of those anymore. Romances, there aren't just good romances as much anymore. Romantic comedies, they kind of died in the early 2000s, and now we just get a lot more of the blockbuster type movies.
And I would say they make these kinds of movies, these elevated indie films, but everything kind of needs to be darker and more intense too.
Yeah,
this film's so like, it's sad and it's sweetly sad and it's very much about humanity and certainly what it means to grow old, what it means to be alone and community and family and all of that. But I think, we'll get into like the pair with section later on, but I think something like Three Billboards from Ebbing, Missouri, right? Being a kind of movie like this but that one obviously has such it's about the assault and loss of a child, right? Like,
Yeah, there's an intensity
so
in there.
so
Yeah.
intense. Like, those are like, you need trigger warnings with that kind of movie where like, and I love that movie and I want to see more of those movies, but that has taken the place of this movie that is about sadness and healing old wounds and like getting justice and learning what really matters at the end of life in a small town. Similar vibes, but doesn't have to be elevated to that level of just intense agony.
Yeah, I think that this has kind of been replaced with the hallmarkification of like that's kind of taken the place of these kind of movies, and people don't want to go to the theaters to see something like this. Instead, they want to just sit in the comfort of their own home, watch it on Netflix or
we have more subgenres now too. Like everything, all the things you mentioned, the romantic comedies, the romances, the erotic thrillers, like those go into like subgenres where they're tinctured down to like 150% for the person that wants to watch that kind of movie. Like, but it's the crack cocaine version of that kind of movie. Whereas this is still trying to be a little 4-quadrant. Like, little kids might have been bored during this, but you could watch this with your kids in the living room, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're scared of boobs, which, the United States of America is. So.
I am terrified of boobs.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm eager to talk about it. I know that you said that maybe the back half, like you weren't as into as just because you had stuff going on, not because you weren't into it.
Right. I was just a little pushed to prepare. I had watched the full movie a couple days ago, a little bit on my phone, but enjoying it. And then when I sit down to take notes, I kind of missed the back half a little bit. But I do remember what happens, and we can definitely get into that later. But also, I remember it gets a little on the saccharine side, a little sweet and pat at the end. But I don't know what else to do. When we get to that part, we'll talk about whether that's the right move or not for the movie.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. That Jessica Tandy, who was in this movie, like was the queen of kind of these movies. Like Fried Green Tomatoes came out like 2 years before this. Driving Miss Daisy came out like 2 years before that. Just so happens she happens to be in all of those movies. But yeah, all kind of that same genre, like drama, dramedies, as you would. But
and Fried Green Tomatoes and Driving Miss Daisy deal with heavy topics, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way that was like pushing an envelope in the mid 90s. But maybe not today. But they dealt with like heavy topics. Again, gently is the word I come up with. Not that that's the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. It's just a style of movie that you could see in the mid 90s. Serious, like, I mean, there's a lot of serious things in Fried Green Tomatoes, and then the race division and Driving Miss Daisy. But very human, and it makes everybody walk out of the theater feeling okay, a little evolved, but not scared, not challenged, not devastated. Hopeful.
And I know I bring up Driving Miss Daisy. That one sadly has been replicated a couple more times within the most recent years, like The Help or The Green Book, where it's like, no, we got it, guys. Like,
and those movies still are popular, even though I kind of turn my nose up at them, and I think a lot of people do because it feels too bright and saccharine, too sweet of a way to talk about a heavy thing. So we're kind of fighting in culture a little bit about whether we need to like slit our wrist when we talk about heavy subjects, and then like nobody wants to go see those movies, or if we can be a little happier and hopeful about it, but then not betray the importance of what's being talked about.
Right. Yeah, I think
nobody's fool. There's not a lot of social commentary in this. This is more about sadness, loneliness, family, community, and growing old too.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about it. Let's dive into it a little bit and give you more of the details about it. Again, the name of the movie is Nobody's Fool. It came out December 23rd, 1994, right there at the end of the year. It was directed and written by Robert Benton and based on a novel by Richard Russo. Have you ever read any Richard Russo?
No, I don't think I know the name.
He's famous for, I think he's mostly famous. I recognize the name immediately whenever I saw it in the credits and everything. There's a famous book that I think got turned into like an HBO television show called Empire Falls.
That's vaguely familiar.
But like he deals a lot with like these small town stories with a lot of like, heart and drama and all, Nobody's Fool-esque. So that's kind of his bread and butter are these kind of novels, but pretty famous novelist with several credits under his name. Like we were already talking about the cast a little bit, this cast includes Paul Newman as Sully, who's our main character, Jessica Tandy as Beryl Peoples, Bruce Willis, who's not credited, I don't think, in this movie until the very end.
At the end, he is, yeah.
Yeah, as Carl Roebuck, Melanie Griffith as Toby Roebuck, Dylan Walsh as Peter Sullivan, Pruitt Taylor Vince as Rub, Gene Sachs as Worf, Joseph Summer as Clive Peoples Jr., Philip Seymour Hoffman's in here as Officer Raymer, Angelica Torn, who is Rip Torn's daughter, I learned, as Ruby, Jay Patterson as Jocko, Philip Bosco as Judge Flat. I named all these people, and I'm going to name a couple more. Catherine Dent as Charlotte Sullivan, and Margot Martindale as Birdie. So a lot of people in here, a lot of good character actors in here, and some people that will go on to do much bigger things after this movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Dylan Walsh, Margot Martindale, they all go on to, bigger and better things after this.
Yeah, the great character actors. Pruitt Taylor Vince, I love a lot. We've been enjoying him in Deadwood recently. There's a movie I really love that most people haven't seen called The Legend of 1900, where he gets like a main character role.
Okay.
But yeah, if anybody knows, he's a TV actor, film actor, but he's the bigger guy. He's got the nystagmus, where his eyes shift constantly.
He's kind of like a Vincent D'Onofrio type. Like
yeah, totally.
Yeah, like a bigger Vincent D'Onofrio.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman, real quick, just to see, like he's doing a Philip Seymour Hoffman thing with his big sonorous voice. He's playing a complete prick, which he did a lot in the late '90s too. But man, it's just nice to see him all the time. I miss him so much as an actor, and to find even a small role like this, where to see something new from him when I haven't seen anything new from him for so long since he's passed, that was really nice. Yeah,
he's got a lot of little roles like this in the beginning of the '90s, like Sin of the Woman. I know he's in
Twister.
Yeah. Patch Adams, he's in really random. Twister, it's incredible. So he hasn't really hit his Philip Seymour Hoffman streak yet, but it is nice to see him in these roles and be like, we're on the verge.
He's got it. He's eating that scene up. His body, his voice is just embodying the character. It's great.
It's crazy to think that he's this and then goes to playing Dusty the next year in Twister, or 2 years with Twister. It's just
this feels like Patch Adams' character. I loved him in Patch Adams, but he is he's just an annoying, stuck-up prick that needs to get laid in that movie. He's kind of doing the same character here.
Yeah. So somebody in chat just said I'd never heard of this movie. Yeah, I had never heard of this movie either. It was kind of a rare find. I've been waiting for something like this. I think I got this a little earlier in the year with Eat, Drink, Man, Woman as like that movie that really I was surprised by and really kind of fell in love with. And I'd been waiting on this. I was glad it happened at the end of the year. So for those that don't know what this movie's about, let me give you a synopsis. Donald Sully Sullivan is an expert at avoiding adult responsibilities. At 60, he divides all his time between a local bar and the occasional construction job. When his estranged son, Peter, arrives in town, bringing with him a son of his own and a sob story about his failed marriage, Sully finds himself assuming the roles of both father and grandfather. After a life of unchecked self-indulgence, he wonders if he is up to the task. This movie had a budget of $20 million and actually made a decent profit, I think, for $39 million. So made another $20 million on top of what it cost. So I think that's doing pretty well for something that probably didn't get marketed as heavily as some of the other movies that we've seen. And this movie is pretty highly rated too. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 91%. IMDb has it at 7.3 out of 10. Letterboxd is a 3.7 out of 5. Roger Ebert loved this movie. He said, I've been watching Paul Newman movies of all my life. He's so much a part of the landscape of modern American film that sometimes he's almost invisible. He does what he does with simplicity, grace, and a minimum of fuss. And so I wonder if people even realize what a fine actor he is.
I saw that review too. I was going to bring it up because I thought that was a really loving review of Paul Newman's career at the end of his career, right?
Yeah. Usually Roger Ebert's so unique with some of his reviews, and some of them are really well written. And then you come across some of these, like I loved what he wrote about Paul Newman, but he never talks about the rest of the movie at all. And it's just like, no, Paul Newman's great. Here's the story. Here's the plot of the movie.
I can never guess what Roger Ebert's going to think about a movie either. I wonder, this is just a quick side note. I wonder if throughout his career he was being employed like on Siskel and Ebert and stuff like that, where and Ebert and Roper, where he just had like deadlines. He had to crank out like in newspapers and in television reviews of movies that were just like work a day and, you know, got through the thing. And then like I have his great movies books when he writes those short, like 2 or 3 page reviews of like great movies. He obviously like flexes his writer's bone a little more. So you can read some Roger Ebert stuff that just like, here's what it's about. Here's what you're going to get. The kids might like it. I don't know. Leave me alone. There's a lot of Roger Ebert reviews that are like that. And then there's other stuff that are like beautifully written essays about film, you know?
he was not trying to do the Pauline Kael route the whole time, where Pauline Kael is just writing about
just trying to be the Joan Didion of film for sure.
I did struggle to find a negative review of this movie. Stephen Hunter, I think it was like the Baltimore Sun or something, said that this movie feels oddly phony from its very core outward. He gave it 2 out of 4 stars, so it's still not even like that bad of a review, but yeah. So this movie did get nominated for 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Actor for Paul Newman and one for Best Adapted Screenplay. Neither won for this.
You know what won? Did Shawshank win for Best Adapted maybe?
I think so. I think Shawshank might have won. Well, or Little Women. I can't remember what I said last week with Little Women.
Oh, yeah, Little Women.
But yeah, obviously did not win for Best Actor. That went to Tom Hanks this next year for Forrest Gump. Yeah, Forrest Gump. So yeah, a little bit of a legacy, and it's one of those movies that like people have said already in chat, like never heard of this movie, and it's just kind of fallen by the wayside. This is one that you might watch, like catch on TNT or something in the passing, or AMC or something like that, and maybe just skip over completely. But
it's a rainy day afternoon watch a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and on it's not bad on your phone too, like it's so
this is not something like that you need like the surround sound to watch or anything.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like an insult, but I mean that as a compliment, that it's a very comforting background noise. You can hop in and out of scenes and lines and just get something good every time you pay attention, not miss too much if you're distracted. Yeah,
and I think that I'm guessing we're going to have a similar movie in our pairing.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm guessing that we will.
Your favorite movie of all time on my list, yeah.
My favorite movie of all time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I love it. All right. So let's talk about some of the scenes that stood out in this movie. I honestly, when you were talking about like maybe having some trouble, when I watched this movie and then the next day wrote my notes, and I was like, I don't know any of the scene. Like, I don't know any like scene that I could pull out, as much as like I just wrote down every relationship that Sully has in the movie.
Oh, my first 4, because I try to just write them down as I watch the movie and then maybe star the important ones later. I always struggle with the scene list. But my first 4 are Sully and Beryl, Sully and Carl, Sully and his son Peter, Sully and Toby, right? Those are the first 4 things that establish those important relationships. Yeah. But like the way this movie is good, a rainy time thing you don't always have to pay attention to, is because it kind of is more harmonic than melodic, right? It's not building up to big explosive scenes.
Yeah.
It's like kind of getting a lot accomplished slowly. So like musically, it's more symphonic, and it's hard to say, well, that's the best part of the song, when the chorus hits.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you completely. There are some scenes that I can think of, like I have written down. I have all of the relationships written down the same way that you did. But then like Sully coming to Thanksgiving. And that is like a scene with Peter's family and Whacker and Will and all hell breaking loose.
I had that one because that's clearly a big thing where things now that's all been set up. The town's been set up. The characters are set up. Now things are moving along where all of a sudden the runaway father actually shows up for Thanksgiving dinner and causes all this chaos and gets to see about the family he left behind and where they're at all of a sudden. And then after that, him and his son stealing back the snowblower is a big scene for that relationship, which is probably the core relationship. And that scene is 8 scenes. Like they just kind of slowly fold into each other. Because then I was like writing notes and I looked up and it felt like that scene had been over. But then they were both giving the snowblower to that one neighbor, and I was like, oh, this is still part of the same like sequence of events. Yeah.
And that was his dad. That was that's Peter's stepdad that he was given the snowblower to.
Oh, I didn't understand who that was. Okay.
Yeah, that's Peter's stepdad.
Okay, so that's the guy his ex-wife is married to now. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I remember him from earlier, but I didn't recognize him as the same person. I see.
No, it again, he's not in the movie enough to care too much about. Basically, there's one moment in the movie where he's like, "Hey, is that guy's a good guy? He's a good dad to you, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's a great dad. He was always there. You weren't."
Yeah, right.
Screw you.
That actually adds a little like a wrinkle too of like Sully's. The beginning of his ice starting to melt is that time he's spending with his son, right? Or maybe something like kind of clicks when he sees the Thanksgiving chaos, and then here's his grandson when he runs away or like hides in the truck. Here's his grandson talking about his parents' divorce. All of a sudden, like some crack in the iceberg happens, and it slowly begins to melt. And so there's something maybe even subconsciously in Sully at that point, like, I can't give the family I left behind anything. I don't have anything, but I can steal this asshole snowblower. And if I got to do it just for fun, just for revenge, and if I have to put it somewhere, I might as well give it to the guy, who took over when I left. Yeah.
It's so interesting to me as we talk about like the relationships and everything, and how, like, obviously this movie is about kind of an absent father and him kind of coming back and stepping back into that role when he is kind of already that role in a sense to some of the people around him, whether it's Rub or whether it's Worf, or I think his name's Worf.
Yeah, his name's WIRF, Worf, yeah.
Yeah, Worfy. Even Carl, like, in a sense, like, I feel like I watched this with Alyssa, and I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here. I loved Carl and Sully's relationship.
It's great. Yeah.
Yes, Carl's is an asshole, but like, it's almost like Carl is Sully in a way. He is
totally. Yeah. He sees that in himself or whatever, and he's given his younger self a hard time when he's giving Carl a hard time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I also think I think the movie may have failed into a success where they wanted Sully to be grumpier and more of a jerk, and they might have wanted Carl to be more of a jerk. They keep saying that he is, but they both just end up too likable.
Yes, I felt like Carl was too likable,
and maybe that was a little bit of cowardice on the filmmakers' part, where they were like, they just couldn't make Paul Newman unlikable, they couldn't make Bruce Willis unlikable, but then that ends up being wonderful. Like that, I really like them both from beginning to end, and that ends up making the movie better. So maybe it was also on purpose that, like, yeah, they're going to seem like assholes, but everybody immediately is going to fall in love with these two.
Yeah. Other movie, like anytime. Well, I'll start with the beginning of the movie, kind of with Worf and Sully, and Worf being his one-legged lawyer, who is not a very good lawyer. He can't afford a two-legged lawyer.
That was great.
Yeah. So Worf is always trying to get Sully out of trouble, and he's trying to defend him, I guess, against a workers' comp policy against Carl's company.
Yeah, well, I think the actual narrative is that Sully is constantly suing Carl.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think later on in the movie, Worf does defend him when he commits a crime or something. But I think the idea is that this is a regular thing. The judge is like, "Oh, you're suing your boss again that you keep going back to work to, for more money or something." And that Worf is like, "Yeah, man, we're gonna get this guy, even though we're all gonna play poker together later at the bar."
Which is just, I just love this small town. I love this.
We gotta take a second to say it's so pretty. The movie's really pretty. Apparently, a little trivia: like there was a huge snowstorm while they were trying to film all this stuff, and all that snow is real, but it really just adds to the like authenticity of this like northeastern small town vibe. The exterior of that bar is awesome. I've seen places like that up in Pennsylvania, like those corner bars that are somehow like clapboard but still 3 stories tall and about to fall into the street. And just the bottom corners, like a lit up quiet bar. I love that vibe.
Yeah, that was it. It is such a cool vibe. It reminds me of one of the movies we'll talk about probably later whenever we get to our comparisons and everything like that. But yeah, I love the small town feel of it. It isn't, and this is where the hallmarkification of this movie doesn't exist, is like with that bar. I don't think that it is seen as like a pleasant place for everybody to be. It is a place for very sad, lonely people to go and play poker, and and live their lives, and that's not something you would see in maybe some of the Hallmark movies. It's got a diner with like this small
Yeah,
town has a diner with a
nobody can have a real problem unless that becomes the main plot. Because
Mhm.
it's not just like everybody in this movie is a little sad, a little lonely, a little too cold, a little too sick, right? Rub is, and Jessica Tandy is, and the lawyer is. Like everybody's just kind of like breaking, just surviving through the winter of their elements and their own souls at the same time, and they're just kind of doing it together as part of life. You can't have that kind of plotting human struggle in a Hallmark movie. Like if somebody gets cancer, only one person gets cancer. It's got to be revealed at the beginning of the third act, and their death has to be meaningful at the end. It's got to be an old person who's ready to go, right? Like that's how a Hallmark movie has to have it. In this movie, and this kind of, although it's still very sweet and Hallmarky in its own way, there's a lot more reality to the kind of constant aches and pains that everybody feels of being broke and old and a little lonely, and it's too cold outside.
Yeah. Some of this stuff also. So I'll bring up Beryl and Sully. That's another character that gets introduced very early in the movie. She is his former 8th grade teacher, and she is in her 80s, and she lets out a room that upstairs to him, and they kind of have this, relationship where she's always like, "Hey, can you fix something for once?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get to it." And
They're very
she's
flirty, but like teasing each other too. They clearly really like each other.
yeah, and it seems like they're perfect for each other in that sense. And she makes a couple good statements in the movie about like him always betting on that trifecta to hit and everything. And he's like, "Well, why do you do it?" He's like, "Yeah, because maybe one time it actually will. Something good will happen." And she's like, "Yeah, I feel the same way about you." So that's kind of the relationship that they have. Is she's just waiting on Sully to be the great person, or to be a good person, not necessarily a great person, a good person that she knows he can be. And so she's taking a bet out on him as well. So I love their relationship. I love little things too, like the marks on the ceiling whenever she's hitting on the ceiling of the room. Like she's obviously hit the ceiling before trying to get
that's great
Sully to
world
come
building
down.
in filmmaking to do that and show that this whole place and all these people feel very lived in.
Yes.
Whereas like somebody with an inauthentic vibe trying to create, I'm gonna like write a small town with a bunch of lovable characters, trying to do that from scratch without authenticity is very difficult to do. So this film feels real. These characters seem like real people. Yeah.
I love that you said that, like that they're lived in and everything. That is this town. Nothing is too clean. Everything is like, yes, with the snowstorm and everything, but everything just kind of looks the perfect level of messy or dirty. And you see those like rundown houses, or like where Rub lives, like that house that Rub lives in is so unique. And
and the movie's not trying to be like, look at this dejected, abject poverty, look how sad and horrible this is. It's more like, this is just matter-of-fact life in this part of the world. I do remember reading Russo wrote his book about his hometown. The town in the movie is fictional as a stand-in, but I didn't catch it in the movie. But I read that in the book, his hometown in upstate New York that he grew up in was always overshadowed by a bigger community nearby. So it was always like this forgotten little town on the edge of a more interesting place. And I think that's established in the movie too. They talk about this other place nearby that's kind of bigger and better and brighter and cleaner and more up to date.
I wonder if they're talking like, I wonder if it's like Albany or something like that.
The real town is Ballston Spa, but I read what real town he was referring to in the bigger one, and I didn't recognize it. It's not like a city.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently this is a 3-part book series by Russo.
I just read that. I looked at the Wikipedia real quick while you were talking, and it doesn't mention like the Sully in the plot. I think it's just more like other stories from North Bath, New York.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Sully passed away. He was pretty old, so
yeah.
Well, he's not that old. Another thing that I want to talk about. So as we're talking about like some of these relationships, is an area that I thought might feel a little schmaltzy, and that's the relationship between Peter and Sully. his actual son. And I
Yeah.
think that they actually did a really good job of not trying to make this like, like you said, or like too saccharine, like too sweet.
Yeah. I agree.
It
This
was,
succeeded in that. Like that feels very real. The bitterness is real. The acceptance of the bitterness is real, and anger. Like Peter never like explodes in like anger. He's like, you weren't there. Blah, blah, blah. He keeps mentioning it. He's still mad about it, but he's kind of grown enough to like put it all behind him. But he's not going to call his dad like a hero when he wasn't. He's going to let him know every time he has a chance to like that he got left behind and that he felt that every day. And there's some really good lines about that too. So that was it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a chance for the movie to get too like weepy and melodramatic about this like the hurt relationship, and then it coming back around to being healed again. But it dealt with it very gracefully, I think.
yeah, and I really like that. And I thought Dylan Walsh was pretty good. I'm not used to seeing Dylan Walsh in that kind of role. I just know him mostly from Nip Tuck.
Yeah, I looked him up. I was like, I know that name, but I don't know anything he's in. And I was like, oh, I watched Nip Tuck for a minute, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of it though.
That's really what I remember him the most from is Nip Tuck, and he's an interesting character in that.
He's got that like nerdy, zaddy 90s like bouffant hair, white dude bouffant hair. Like
it's like Patrick Dempsey and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of those guys. Patrick Dempsey is the only one that's coming to my mind. I think of With Honors, and I'm thinking about Patrick Dempsey and Brendan Fraser, and they all have that dumb hair.
Yeah, and then there was like 90s dudes that were like that weren't made to be like heartthrobs, but they were kind of like, you can tell Dylan Walsh is kind of like muscly under like his plaid shirt and his nerdy glasses. Yeah, he's got a 90s look for sure.
Yeah. The only other thing I had Rub and Sully, and then I also had Toby and Sully written down here.
Mhm.
And I think that I feel like we get the least from Toby and Sully, but like we get a lot from Toby and Sully in the few scenes that they're in. Like I really liked Melanie Griffith in this.
Yeah, I don't know that I know her as an actor so well. I've never seen like Working Girl. And then I'm sure she's been in a million things, and I've seen her in some stuff. She's a very beloved actor, but I don't know her that well. I loved her in this. I was kind of blown away a little bit. She's so impressive. She embodies that character so well. She's such an interesting character. She's not just used. It would be easy to make that character just somebody who was used to define Carl and then to like probe Sully into action in some way. But I think she has her own internal journey in this movie and gets to express her own complexities and confusion in lots of interesting ways. I feel bad maybe in the very ending, like how it has to become Sully's journey to like not go with her. And I just kind of wanted him to go with her, but it makes sense that he doesn't. And then it's also like, well, what's going to happen to her? I like her. I want to end her story. I'm not sure they really do.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I was like, let's go to Hawaii. And
I get that doesn't make sense for the movie, but the movie led me to being like, yeah, that's what I want for you. I want you to do that now. I think you should go off into the sunset and accept happiness. And maybe he hasn't done enough to get forgiveness for like leaving his family. I understand that, but it also feels like the whole movie that his whole life since leaving his family is punishing himself. And so letting go of some guilt and allowing himself a little love and happiness instead of like self-loathing and self-torture is something I want to see for him, which he can do by staying there and being a grandfather and reconnecting for sure. But yeah, I thought that part was interesting. But Melanie, Toby's character is just cool. I mean, I love that they start her character with already kicking Carl out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even know. I think you only see them together one time in the movie, and it's at the very end of the movie when they're only in the room together one time, which is unique for that couple to be together. And it's the very end where she's just like, I'm done. This is it. Let's go, Sully. Very unique relationship they all have there. No, she's just charming as hell in this movie.
Yeah, she really is. I get being in love with her, and I mean, she's so flirty with Sully in such a confident and cool way. She clearly stands up for herself. You could have started this movie with like watching Carl and hers relationship, and it would have been less cool.
Yeah. I like the way they did it. And obviously, this is more about Sully than it is about anybody else. But it is nice to see those little glimpses into other people's stories and how they're doing. Whether it's, Hattie, I think her name's Hattie, the lady that leaves the mom
Yeah.
that
Yeah, you
leaves.
gotta imagine that the book fleshes out a little bit more the surrounding cast, which is good. I don't want this to be a 2.5-hour movie, so we started talking about Rub and Sully, and again, I love I always get his name wrong, Taylor Pruitt Vince so much, and I like him and his character in this that I would like to see a little more of him, but I think they probably did just the right amount. And again, every scene where it's just the two of them, the introduction scene, the hey man, I miss you, like you're hanging out with your son too much. I thought I was kind of your son. I'm your best friend. And then the makeup scene where Sully has to be like, hey man, like Peter's my son. You're my best friend. And that's so good. I love that.
And I feel like there is a lot more to Rub, and like there's more of a story there. I don't know if this was a mistake in the movie or if this was just a mistake and maybe he forgot to take off his ring or something. But Rub is wearing a wedding ring.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting that he has, that he had somebody. Like,
yeah, I wonder if it's in the book that he has somebody or had somebody, and they're just kind of giving a nod to either a backstory or a further development. But
and
yeah,
this
that's
was
interesting.
and he was a confused, and like his character, I was completely content with his character. And then I read Roger Ebert's review of it, and of course he calls him MR in this. And I was like, I didn't think he was, I didn't think that at all.
No, not at all.
So I just thought that was kind of a wild thing for Roger Ebert to talk about and say about this character that I didn't really catch on. Like, I do think that Rub, there's something there, but
I think he gets pushed around. I mean, but yeah, not because he's stupid, but I mean, he's simple emotionally, where he just like kind of like doesn't fight back a lot. But he's also like, I'm not working on fucking Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. Like he's got some knowledge, some self-awareness, some self-respect too. He's not a full-on pushover, and he's definitely not intellectually disabled. I don't know. He seems like a lot of guys in a lot of small towns who just grow up and put like overalls in the snow every day and throw concrete bricks around, and that's how they get to life, and then they go to the local bar. That's pretty normal.
Yeah. And so that I found Rub a little bit more interesting than Roger Ebert was giving him credit for. But I love their relationship. I love that like surrogate son to Sully that he is. And obviously he says that he's his best friend, although I feel like Worf is kind of his best friend too. And actually Beryl is more of Sully's best friend than anybody.
Well, all these people see a lot more in Sully than he wants to give them, right? So he's like, they're all kind of like begging him to show up, except maybe Carl, but they all want him to, like, they see who he is and they respond to the character they see, and then Sully gets turned off by that affection and that loyalty, and then has to like run away from it, hide within himself, and push them all away.
Yeah. And we see that the best at the end whenever he's saying that, like when he's talking to Beryl about, her paying off his debts and everything. And he was told by Worf to like, hey, just accept it, say thank you and everything. But Sully does it in a way that it's still like true to their relationship. He's not being too sweet to her. And
I like that moment too, where he was like, it was somebody like kind of like grabbing Sully by the ear and was like, hey man, I know what you're going to do about this. You don't do your Sully thing. Like, just take this kindness and move on. Like, swallow this one, man. Don't be a dick. And he kind of hears that. I think that if Sully was maybe like talked to the right way, people could get like more out of him, right? Yeah. In that moment, he probably does want to be slapped around a little bit more than anybody's like brave enough to do.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I'm glad I thought of it too, because it was the quote I was going to say about wanting him to run away to Hawaii. But I love the quote where Peter says, I also thought this was a just searingly insightful human quote going into lots of divorces and problematic marriages and relationships, where his son says to Sully, Mom was always worried you were having more fun than her, or something like that. And then Sully says, well, tell her not to worry about that. Like, yeah. But like that idea that Peter's not mad at Sully for who he is. He's mad at him for what he did. He never says, you're a bad person. You're a dumb person. You're a mean person. He's like, why did you leave? I missed you, So he respects Sully too. And even his ex-wife is like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like my dad or my ex-husband, like he's going off living like a very capable life while we're left behind. And I think Sully's been punishing himself and not allowing himself to, like, even if he was going to run away, to like, you know, live out anything he wants. There's the other line where he says, "Oh, you ran away from us to go do your own thing." And he's like, "Well, I didn't get very far. I only got 5 blocks."
Yeah.
Like, the guilt stopped him there. He's like, if I'm going to be this kind of deadbeat, then I have to go be sad and alone and torture myself about it.
He's almost too lazy to be.
A little bit, yeah.
Anything else scene-wise that maybe we're missing?
There's definitely some plot stuff. Yeah, like there's like this a long multiple sequence of him like reconnecting with his son and his grandson. And then Beryl goes to the hospital, Rub gets mad. Then the big, like, kind of, if there's an action sequence in a slow movie like this, the gun going off and him punching Philip Seymour Hoffman. And then it all kind of just like folds into a little too pat of an ending, but a nice ending where, okay, well, the old lady is going to die and he's going to get the house and he's going to make up with everybody. And he's going to like finally say out loud that he's going to try to reconnect with his family.
Yeah.
That's like the second half of the movie, right?
Pretty. Yeah. You don't get to, you just know what's happening to Sully. You don't really know what's going to happen to the rest of the characters that are surrounding him. And except for that old lady is going to die, but
yeah,
that's what old people do.
They had a long funeral scene.
Yeah. That funeral scene is one of my other moments that I'll talk about. Who's your favorite character in this? Or is there scene stealers?
Scene stealers. I mean, there's so many.
I know. This
ensemble's really good. It's not going to be Worf. We spend a lot of time praising Toby and Melanie Griffith, but maybe I like Rub the most. Yeah, I don't know. It might be Rub. I don't know. Who did you have?
I had so Sully, I think, is my favorite character. Obviously, in the movie, like he's our character. But Carl is the one that I don't know why. I just, like you were saying, they made him almost too charming, and I really enjoyed every scene that they were in together, because all those scenes where you should be rooting against Carl and rooting with Sully and rooting for Sully, you're like, no, I kind of see both sides. Like,
you know what I think I did too is I don't know why. I guess I have like a little dislike for Bruce Willis. I mean, maybe it's just because he's an asshole, right? In real life,
yeah.
Everybody agrees that he's a jerk and he's kind of like meatheaded. And then he's most famous for a lot of meatheaded characters. So I was constantly intrigued too, because you almost thought Carl was going to be a 2-dimensional villain. Dumb and confused by everything, but just mean and selfish. But he's actually like clever. I think that fact, this movie, it's hard to pick quotes to, because every other quote is really good. Like there's a lot of good lines, and so like the banter back and forth, where Carl should be kind of a boring villain, like he can go toe to toe with insulting Sully. So I do enjoy him every time he shows up.
Yeah, I think that we get too much, and of course in the 90s, we get too much of like Bruce Willis, action star Bruce Willis, and that's kind of why he didn't want to put his name on this movie, is because of like his action starness and all that stuff. But he got to start doing comedy. Like he was always a comic actor first, and most notably for Moonlighting, which he did with Sybil Shepherd. But that's the kind of relationship that we're getting here, and that's the kind of back and forth banter that we're getting between, Sully and
and poking around. He also like took a minimum on like with The Verdict, and then he was also in Bonfire and the Vanities, 2 movies I've always wanted to see because they're supposed to be great, and I love legal dramas. But like I was like, all right, I didn't know Bruce Willis was in those movies. So I wonder if there's a Bruce Willis filmography out there that could like really rehabilitate. I don't know. I just spent a month. I just spent a month telling people that Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, and I never cared about that. Until the people who say it is wouldn't shut the fuck up about it.
That's kind of how I feel
every year.
To be honest,
people start saying that shit before they put Lights Up every year. They just say it over and over again. And I think this year was the year I was like, you know what? I'm not just going to be like, yeah, sure. If that's how you define it, go for it. I started fighting with them a lot about it, which has turned into me trashing Die Hard more than it deserves.
Yes. Yeah. I still have never seen Die Hard.
Bruce Willis in that way. So then I got to see this at the end, and I was like, all right, I don't hate you, Bruce.
Yeah. And now he's got dementia and, all that stuff. So it's whatever.
He doesn't.
Who doesn't? Yeah. Speaking of quotes that were going on, what are some other quotes? I know you've already listed off a couple of them.
Yeah,
Things
you already said you can't afford a two-legged lawyer. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
He's like, I got this one-legged lawyer. It's like, you can't afford a two-legged lawyer. The opening lines are great. The music, we didn't talk much about the music. I couldn't find out who did it. I think the music's really great. And so the opening shots of the music with the like snow-covered town is awesome. And so it is this long, like, see the credits, very gentle, but somehow emotional, kind of like violins and keys going on. And then you get this big crack where a giant branch falls in the yard outside. And what's her name? Beryl?
Yep.
Beryl screams to Sully, Mr. Sullivan, God just took out Mrs. Cooper's bird bath. He's getting closer. Last year, it was the street light at the end of the block. Now it's Mrs. Cooper's bird bath. I think this is the year he lowers the boom, which is pretty good. That she's like, God's getting closer. He keeps dropping branches on shit I can see, and it's getting closer to the house. He's coming for me. This is my year. Hilarious.
Yes, so good. What else? There's another one between him and Worf that I really like. That I don't know why I thought it was this funny. But Worf says, "Don't blame me. I'm a Jew. They're not my holidays." And Sully responds with, "A Jew? Really? I didn't know that. How come you ain't smart?"
Yeah, I got that one down there.
How come you ain't smart?
I like when Toby says, "You're a man among men," and he goes, "Thank you," and he goes, "That's not a compliment."
And it comes back around at the end when she's like, he's like, "Oh, another insult," and she's like, "No, this time I'm complimenting you." That scene was very sweet. I like that. Let's see. I can't be the. Oh, okay. So I got it. Whenever Carl announces to Sully that that Toby's pregnant, and Sully responds with, "Hey, I can't be the father and the godfather. You got to goddamn do something."
I wrote that one down. Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I liked another more like sweet one when he tells her the first scene, tells Toby to hang in there, and she goes, "Is that your sum of the is that the sum of your wisdom on the subject?" And he goes, "That's the sum of my wisdom on most subjects."
That's a great line. When he does go into Toby's house for the first time, which one thing, he just walks in. She's changing the locks to this place. She's changed the locks on that day, and Sully just walks in whenever he wants. He walks into her house 3 different times. I was like, what are changing the locks going to do? You don't lock your house. But he said, hey, he walks in, and of course he's like, "Hey, are you naked?" And then over in the corner, Horace, and she says no. And the guy that's changing her locks, named Horace, he's like, "Hi, Sully, I ain't naked either," which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, right. Also, it shows their weird relationship immediately, because she's like, "No, but in 2 seconds I can be."
Yep.
Like, she's throwing it at him a lot in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I liked the son was like, "I'm a member of Greenpeace. I can't believe I just helped poison a dog." And then Sully says, "For one thing, it ain't poison, and for another, you didn't help much."
That's good. The whole dog, that whole scene was, and like the whole dog swapping scene, like he gives them the dog's ruined, the dog's scared of Sully, all that. It's very weird, but also, cute at the end whenever.
I missed it. You swapped the dog at some point?
No, so Bruce Willis, Carl, ends up taking the snowblower back for the final time and leaves him a note that says, "Here's the dog, you've ruined it, so you can keep this thing." And then at the end, he brings the dog into the Beryl's house and like falls asleep and kicks off one shoe, and she covers him with the blanket, and the dog comes in and cuddles up with him. It's very sweet.
Yeah, he traded an old lady for a dog. He traded Hawaii with Melanie Griffith for 2 snot-nosed little brats.
And a dog. The judge, whenever they're talking about the shooting incident, the judge says to the sheriff, "Ollie, you know my feelings about arming morons. You arm one, you've got to arm them all. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good sport."
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. I just love every relationship. Every conversation in this movie has some kind of one-liner or zinger.
There's a lot of them. I didn't have time to write down. I also had this is a little side note. IMDb's website and app won't let you copy paste, at least on a phone, with a mouse. I could. So I was like, I don't have time to write these down. I got to do a lot more.
Just kind of memorize it.
So I was just going to put them in a notepad note and pull them up, but I couldn't do it. Yeah.
It's okay. This is one of my the biggest laughs I had in the movie. But Sully is at the bar getting ready to go into jail. And he says to Birdie, a condemned man has a right to a last request, doesn't he? I got my truck out back. What do you say we get in the back, get naked, and see where it goes from there? And Birdie's response is so slow
Mhm.
and just staring at him. And then she goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then the next line, I was howling because as soon as she says, okay, Sully goes, haven't you got any pride?
Yeah. I remember that. Birdie was Margaret Martindale?
Yes.
Yeah. She was good. I wish there was more of her in the movie.
Yes, I do too.
I wonder for time if some of her stuff got cut because she was around a lot, but only got a few lines. I did like it. One of my laughs was I just like the idea of sitting in a bar and betting on TV Court. Like
Great. I know my lawyer.
Yeah, right.
You haven't seen the stories. Other funny stuff. When he learns that his trifecta hit, but he didn't get the bet on it. He's a pallbearer at this woman's funeral and almost drops the casket.
Yeah,
because of that.
That's pretty
funny. Yeah, we can do anything else. Laugh, cries, scare, thrill. No scares or thrills, really.
No scare. I mean, thrills I did have when she flashes Sully. That was a pretty good scene.
I think he was thrilled.
Yeah, I mean that was another good line actually. I didn't write down where like the kid's in the next room and he's trying to be like cocky and flirty and he's like, the last girl Ruby, she wore like a see-through blouse and Melanie Griffith just lifts up her sweater and flashes him, and then he's kind of stunned. And from the other room you hear the kid go, "Hey, what's wrong, Grandpa?" And then Melanie Griffith goes, "Yeah, what's wrong, Grandpa?"
And he's just silent. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, the other side thing, one, I was super scared that Beryl was dead. Whenever he comes in there and she has her stroke or whatever.
But she does die, right?
No.
Whose funeral is it?
That is Hattie or whatever. It's the another side story that we barely get.
The lady with dementia who wanders away? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I might have missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because then like I know the scenes where she's like, I'm leaving the house to him.
Yeah.
And then, but that almost happens after the funeral. So you're right. It wasn't hers.
Yeah, she has a stroke.
It would have made more sense for her to die, right?
Would have, maybe. I don't know.
That's a weird thing for the movie to do. To take this one person that you haven't formed an emotional connection to, you only saw once, and then have a long funeral sequence about her, and then not the like magical old woman who sees his pure heart, like finally saying it's my time, but I want you to live life, Sully. Here's my house.
Yeah.
Feels cleaner.
Who knows? Any what the fuck are ridiculous moments?
I didn't have any.
I just put Raymer being the worst cop ever.
Yeah.
And like spinning out and like flipping on the lights and everything. It felt very Farva of Super Troopers.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's so good at it. Like it's not over the top like that. Philip Seymour Hoffman really does bring it in that tiny role.
Oh yeah, you know exactly who he is, like from the beginning. I did another laugh was I did think it was comically funny the way they did the makeup for his black eye when you finally see him, because it's like huge. It's just like a huge bruise, and he's just sitting there stewing angry, and it's kind of funny.
Also, naming your child Whacker.
Yeah.
Or why? Yeah, Alyssa always says, she's like, why are you naming him that, encouraging a bad behavior? Like you're just accepting that he's just going to hit people, so we're just going to call him Whacker.
Wait, because there's a whole dialogue in the back of the car early on where he's like, "Why is your name Whacker?" Do they ever say that's the reason?
Well, he hits him right as soon as he says, "Why is your name Whacker?" He knocks him on the knee.
That's
which
right,
I'm just like, that's absurd. Why are we naming this child Whacker? Stupid.
Yeah,
there's a lot of weird names.
Also,
in this movie.
You don't get to see her much, but like they really went out of their way to make the daughter-in-law like a real bitch.
Yeah, the daughter-in-law and the mother, the Sully's ex or whatever, both kind of just.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. They're both seen as bitches.
And I didn't need the daughter-in-law to really be anything. You could have made her very neutral.
Yeah,
like frustrated about the family. I've got more things to worry about, and we're going through a divorce, and made her more neutral. Like a little shitty, a little understandable. Just didn't need her to seem like such an asshole. And Peter doesn't really describe her as being an asshole. He just says we're breaking up.
Yeah.
But when she's on screen, she's kind of like that. And then when early on is Thanksgiving, like it's one of the first big scenes. And I really thought that like a conversation with his ex-wife was going to happen, or that she was going to be a bigger part of the story, or even through Peter's eyes of like, you don't know what it was like for mom or anything like that. So I was ready to be sympathetic and like her. Or
Yeah. She sorry, I think you cut out. It's probably my internet. She does seem like a little bit what is the word? More like she is going to be a more sympathetic character because of her interest in Sully when they end up picking him up. So I don't know. She did seem like she was going to be a more sympathetic character. We lost Ryan. That's okay. We'll get him back here. He's right here. Let's get him back in here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got it on my end that there was a connection problem, but my internet seems fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, what I was saying, and I didn't get to hear what you were going to say, but what I had just said was like, you did think that she was going to be a little bit more sympathetic of a character, the way that she was talking to Sully and actually like being inquisitive about Sully when they pick him up in the car at the beginning of the movie. And then it was just kind of a weird dynamic after that she was, seen as such a not great person.
Yeah, totally. Because there was also the part where like when she was mad at the kids for like, messing up the whole thing, I was like, yeah, I feel her. Like, your kids are crazy. But then like the movie kind of paints her as an asshole. She turns around and was like, yeah, well, what about my grandma's china? Which is a legitimate thing to be upset about. But I don't know. They really didn't do a good job with the daughter-in-law or the ex-wife. But I mean, they're only there for, a total of 5 minutes.
Yeah, not a big thing at all. Just to answer your question from earlier, the person that did the score was Howard Shore.
Oh, yeah. I know the name very well. I don't know exactly what he's done. But,
he did all the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, okay,
He actually got nominated this year for Ed Wood. He also did The Client this year, too. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the big four, or,
he's up there. So.
Well, yeah, it was a very good score. And the music was almost constant, and it made every little moment even more pregnant. Like, they made every little moment like the feels I got happened mostly because the music was behind the lines of him, Sully, like looking at his grandson when he's talking about like his parents' divorce or whatever. Like that stuff with a worse score would have gone worse.
Yeah, I know. I really did like it. And yeah, Howard Shore, obviously he's up there. He's in Hans Zimmer or John Williams or Zemeckis. Like he's a guy that's been doing it for a long time and consistently nominated. So oh my gosh! And then we got a Tiffany Haddish reference in here.
God. Sir Garland's a real Haddish head. He's been waiting all year to watch Nobody's Fool.
That's what all my fans are called, Haddish heads.
Haddish heads.
We're only fans of Haddish movies. All right, it's time for F, Marry, Kill, where I give you 3 people, and you get to decide which one you're going to F, marry, or kill. So I actually did 2 sets this time, just in case you wanted to do both, or one was too easy. Yeah. We do have, I feel like we've got 3 good people, or men and women here. So Sully, Carl, and Peter.
Kill Carl, fuck Sully, marry Peter.
Okay. I like that.
I think that Peter's annoying or whatever. Like, I don't know. He's not super likable, but I mean, he's very reasonable in everything that he's doing.
He's going to get a good job again, certainly. Like,
yeah,
he was a college professor at a big university. Like, and that was another. He's like, oh, there's just no jobs for college professors. I was like, there's literally colleges all over this country.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So.
I think and I guess, I don't know, I guess it's weird because he's going through a divorce, but we don't get a lot of reasons of why that breakup's happening. I do think that living day to day with any Sully or Carl, like in a partnership, like trying to run a household or a family or, like do fun things together or anything, that sounds kind of miserable. Unless I was like also 60 years old and just wanted to then I would settle down with a Sully, right?
Yeah.
I'd settle down with a Sully at 60 in our golden years where that old poop, he just does this or that. And, that's fine. But I wouldn't want to spend my best years married to Sully or Carl. And Carl is more killable. He's just more of a jerk.
Yeah. Well, he's got a bad heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. He's like, I haven't been skiing in 2 years.
They did such a little thing about him having a heart like heart
Mm.
surgery and all that stuff, and then they give him full on makeup for the scars on his
Yeah.
chest at the end of the movies when he's naked playing strip poker or whatever. Or I don't even know if it's strip poker. They're just betting their clothes, I guess.
Yeah, there's I like the details that give the characters more dimension, but there's like, it doesn't really add up to anything. I think like the whole point of that was simply that like, yeah, Carl is the jerk employer, but he's actually not rich. He doesn't have a ton of money, and Toby mentions like, do you know how much a heart surgery costs? Like, we're pretty broke, bro.
Yeah, he's pretty in debt. I think they mentioned it a couple times. Like he's not paying, he's not just not paying Sully. He's not paying a lot of people.
Yeah.
It seems like so, and those are kind of in passing comments. But yeah, he's not.
But low key, like again, we don't get a lot of him and Toby together or what their relationship problems are. But like, yeah, Toby's so cool, and it's not just that she's like the hottest woman ever. Like she's cool. Like I'd want to hang out with her. Like and then like hanging out, like running around with Ruby seems pretty dumb. Like
yeah. So on top of that, I'll give you Toby, Ruby, and Birdie.
Toby, Ruby, and Birdie. God, I don't know, man.
I think you married Toby though, right?
You marry Toby, yeah. I was just getting there. Fuck Birdie, kill Ruby. I mean, like,
yeah, I think
Ruby
that's
might be more traditionally attractive. I bet Birdie. What's her name? Birdie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet she fucks. Yeah.
I think so. I bet she was down. She was DTF whenever Sully offered.
Yeah, she seems DTF. Like Ruby could go either way. Like it might be a fun night, but also she might just be a monster the whole time. Anybody who's like trying that hard to look sexy outward, I'm always skeptical about whether they're actually into sex.
Yeah.
That's not always true, but it is like a thing, right? Like when people are like really trying to be hot outwardly all the time, I'm like, the second it's time for their clothes to come off and get in bed, I'm not sure that's good.
And yes, chat, you're right. Birdie does fuck.
Birdie does fuck. Oh, I think I said the same thing about when we were doing it for Pulp Fiction, where I don't think like what's her face, Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman's character, Mia.
Yeah, I was like, when it comes down to actually fucking, I'm not sure that it's going to be that fun. Oh, that's right. We had a big argument because
that was a controversial one. Yeah,
yeah. Because I was in chat and it was Steve. Who was talking about. We were talking about what's her face, Pookie Bear in the diner, whatever her name is.
Oh yes,
Honey Bunch or something.
Honey Bunny. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
that was a controversial one. You're right.
What are your answers though?
No, I agree with you on the Toby, Ruby, Birdie one. We kill Ruby, Birdie, we fuck Ruby, and we marry Toby. I might switch Carl and Sully. I think I marry Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I switch Sully and Carl because Carl is just a younger version of Sully.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna, we'll bang him for a lot longer than
That's true. I guess it also like I'm not such a Lothario that I know like what's more important in bed, a good leg or a good heart.
Ooh.
Because they're both coming in without a full complement of
that's true
accessory muscles.
That's true. You're right. But we know what Carl can do.
Do we? What does that mean?
I mean, Toby, Ruby, he's keeping them both around. Mm-hmm. No idea why or how, but maybe it has something to do with that.
Well, you have to imagine too, in the way they've painted this town, like those are the only 3 attractive people in town. The only 4, right? You know what I mean? Like in an average small town area, like you're not getting people this hot,
No. And Paul Newman is a part. The 60-year-old Paul Newman is a part of the hottest quad.
Yeah, he looks better at 60 than I do at 38 for sure. He still got it.
He does still have those eyes, man. Yeah. All right, who gave the best performance?
Paul Newman, man, he's so impressive. You know what? Like it's funny. It's not a good comparison because we saw him in Hudsucker and this year, right? Mm-hmm. It was fun to see him in that role at Hudsucker, but I didn't think he stole the show in any way. I don't know his whole like 90s filmography, but like for this being one of has got to be his like last main roles. I was kind of blown away how good he was. I love him. I love him in his old Cool Hand Luke and HUD era. I'm not the biggest Paul Newman head. A lot of like people of a certain generation really worship him a little bit more than I do, but he's always great to have around. And this kind of a vulnerable version of him, where he just didn't have to be the cowboy with no name, the stone-faced kind of like like a two-dimensional chiseled jaw hero. I love seeing the version of him, and I was very happy about it.
I think we get, versions of it, all of his character, like not all of those characters, but you get that Cool Hand Luke. You get the Butch Cassidy and Sundance. I think he's Butch Cassidy. Yeah. You get that in this character. You get his like charm and everything. You get him being an asshole. You get all those things in there, and such a very simple character of Sully. Right. Like,
and you can imagine all of his old characters ending up to be Sully. Like,
absolutely.
There's chip on my shoulder, not going to let any vulnerability through. I'll martyr myself for my pride, and I'll do the right thing without any smiles or hugs, and not let any warmth in or accept any reward. But now I'm just kind of a broken, lonely old man, and it's time to like be a little softer,
Yeah, that whole trio of Carl, Toby, and Sully makes me think of Butch Cassidy and Sundance. Like, how Sundance was actually with the girl, but he always kind of had feelings for Sundance's girl in that, and they had a really great relationship. They were friends, and that's what this kind of felt like too. So, just kind of a rehash of that. Speaking of that, and moving into the next one is recasts. Would Robert Redford be a good Sully?
Oh yeah, not as good. I didn't do any '94 ones, but that's a good pull.
That was the only one I could. Well, I did that, and then I was like Kevin Bacon as Carl, maybe
that could work.
That during this time,
doesn't have like the broad-chested kind of vibe that Bruce Willis brings to like that construction but I think Kevin Bacon could pull it off for sure.
And that's kind of where I lost on Robert Redford too. I was like, do I envision Robert Redford chucking cement blocks? I do see Paul Newman doing that as a 60-year-old, but do I see anybody else doing that?
Yeah, they're both hard to do recast because they also have to walk the line of likability and unlikability, and certain actors like can do one and not the other. Like it's hard to find the right person to do both. And when I didn't spend a lot of time on my 24 recast, but when I was looking through them, that was an issue I kept finding when I thought of actors.
Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking when I did 2024, I was like, there's already a Paul Newman, Brad Pitt. Or not Paul Newman. Sorry, I just kind of gave my cards away. But like Paul Newman, Robert Redford friendship, and that's George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
Clooney's kind of he's the Newman of the bunch, and Brad Pitt is obviously the Redford of the bunch.
Yeah. It's hard to see George Clooney looking that haggard and throwing bricks, but I think he could do it. I think Brad Pitt's a really great cast for Carl. I think that's
I think that that's too. I also saw Bradley Cooper as Carl.
Oh, that's good. The only Carl I came up with was like Chris Pine, which isn't perfect, but I think off.
No, I actually like that because I think Chris Pine brings that. Whereas like Bradley Cooper is almost too smarmy or like too like he wouldn't pull off that what Bruce Willis does, and I think Chris Pine could.
Yeah, he doesn't have like as much id. Because I also thought of Chris Pratt, but I don't know that he could be kind of intimidating as a villain enough.
Yeah,
but I think he could be the smarmy jerk pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that too. Anybody else that you cast in that?
For Peter, I had I think Andrew Garfield could be pretty good.
Yeah,
I think him being like the estranged son could be good. I also thought of Robert Pattinson. He's just doing really a lot of good work these days.
Put him in everything. That's all I say.
Yeah, put him in everything is kind of what I thought of. But I think Andrew Garfield is got a very good like vulnerability, but also a smarmy anger to him that could be like the estranged son pretty well.
Yeah.
And then for this was the issue for Sully. Tom Hanks, can he pull off the gruffness enough? Can he pull out the physicality of him, or like just the old man hurt leg that like Paul Newman crushes in this? Can he do that?
Yeah.
Then I came up with I think a better one, which is Denzel. I think Denzel can maybe crush Sullivan. Yeah.
I consider Denzel for this, and every time, but Tom Hanks has already been Sully. Good one. Yeah. But also in one of my movies coming up, I've got a Tom Hanks thing here with that. I also thought Nicolas Cage, maybe.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can always bet on Nicolas Cage to pull anything off, and I can always bet on Nicolas Cage to burn the whole house down.
Yeah, exactly. I think of Nicolas Cage in like what's the one he did with Moonstruck?
Yeah, I love Moonstruck.
Like an older version of that character in Moonstruck. That's Sully. A
It's
one-handed bread baker.
Yeah, one of the best reveals of all time in a movie, where like she's there to be like, I don't know, Moonstruck's about like, hey, ex-husband coming to like a funeral or a party or something. And
Yeah.
I need you to come. And he's like, yeah, why are you always being such a jerk? You act like you lost anything. And he's like, I did lose a hand. Like, you're like, oh my God, it doesn't have a hand.
What a reveal.
It's so good. Well, he's surrounded by like 10,000 baguettes.
Yeah.
He's like making bread in a French prison and underground with all these old bricks, and there are mountains of baguettes. And he's like, I gotta get more. Sorry, different movie, different year, but
No, Moonstruck, can't recommend it enough. Moonstruck's incredible. I thought Dakota Johnson would be a good fun role because that's Melanie Griffith's daughter. Just throw her in as Toby. She has no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look. I don't have time to look for Toby. Who's hot right now? I mean, it's like Florence Pugh. Everybody keeps
Florence
talking
Pugh,
about her. Yeah.
Zendaya.
Yeah,
Just
Zendaya
throw
could be a
him
good Melanie Griffith. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I really wanted to get was casting Beryl.
Yeah.
Again, you had such a famous
Shirley
actress.
MacLaine's too old, right? Is Shirley MacLaine passed? I mean, she was like,
I feel like, is she still alive?
I don't know if she's working, if she is, but you remember like Bernie from some years back when she was, she was so good in Bernie, and I think she could turn like the meanness into sweetness and kind of crush it.
She is still alive, 90 years old.
Yeah. I think this was Jessica Tandy's last movie.
It was, yeah. That was actually the first thing I have on my next on my fun facts or whatever. Last movie for Jessica Tandy.
Mm-hmm.
And she passed away. Another thing on the nightstand, and I wondered this whenever I was watching it, and then I confirmed it later. She has photos of her husband. That's her real husband, Hugh Cronin. Yeah.
Then I read that and I was like, oh, I wonder if he had passed at this point, but he hadn't, and she passes like the next year, like right after this comes out.
Because I think of them I think they're in Batteries Not Included together.
I kind of recognize the name, but I didn't know it offhand.
That was a huge movie for me when I was a kid.
I remember watching it. I don't know if it was huge for me, but I definitely saw it a couple times.
Yeah, they were a good couple together, and we're in a bunch of different movies together. So I thought that was kind of neat that Jessica Tandy had her husband in there, which was cool.
Yeah.
What other fun facts did you pull?
There was a couple things. Nothing that was crazy. Oh, I did find I don't know why this was it's not that good, but the French title of this is Un homme presque parfait, which means a nearly perfect man.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good name. I think you covered all the other ones, like Bruce Willis working at scale, so $1,400 a week at the time of this.
Yeah,
I think he only filmed for 3 weeks, so.
Yeah, I just got in there, did his scenes, and then forewent before opening credits credit just in the end of the movie was he credited, which is pretty cool. I mean, it does make me like him that in the middle of his like stardom, honestly, like his biggest era, that he's like, I want to go work with Paul Newman and do this like slow thinker movie. And, the only other one I had was they do a little reference there. They riff about Bonnie and Clyde, and the director Robert Benton, he co-wrote the Bonnie and Clyde movie.
Oh.
And his father were acquaintances with Bonnie and Clyde. His father went to both funerals of Bonnie and Clyde.
Wow.
And then his son, the guy who directed this movie, co-wrote the Bonnie and Clyde movie, and then they kind of riff about Bonnie and Clyde in this movie.
Interesting. No, I didn't check that one out. That's crazy. Did not know that. All right. Like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I went two ways. I have a short list. I mean, I have a list, but I went two different ways. It's like small town movies or old person movies. I think the 1994 or 93 obvious one is Grumpy Old Men, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I didn't rewatch that with you guys, so I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So I don't know if it's just too silly and goofy to pair with this, but it is about growing old and being lonely and grumpy.
I think it's funnier than this movie. Like, it's intentionally funnier than this movie is. But I do think it has the same heart to it that this movie does. So it was my obvious number one. I kept thinking, I was like, this is Grumpy Old Man, but it's just Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah, it's just Grumpy Old Man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Other small town things we mentioned: Fried Green Tomatoes. I think it's way darker and sadder. But when I said what I think I've heard you say was your favorite movie at some point, the Last Picture Show is another.
Oh yeah,
ensemble, small town. vibe, but definitely darker and sadder than this.
Mhm.
Great movie though. And then I had American Graffiti and Doc Hollywood, but they seem a little lighter than
Doc
this.
Hollywood, such a good pool, man.
Yeah. And then for the old person stuff, I a little bit on Golden Pond. If you want a movie that's about trying to age gracefully and put like
Mhm.
your past pains behind you. About Schmidt is a little bit like that.
Hmm.
And then the last one I wrote down while we were talking is what's the guy? Is it Todd McCarthy? He went on to do Spotlight.
Yeah.
He had a couple great opening movies, like indie films, that were about outsiders being accepted. One called The Drummer, that's about an old man who's kicked out of his apartment and he goes to another apartment he owns, and he finds two African immigrants squatting there. And instead of kicking them out, he's so sad and depressed. He's like, whatever, you can stay here as long as I can take the bedroom. And then he learns to get into like drum circles and finds his soul again. It sounds pretty lame. Great movie. But
Okay.
that guy, the one that I would pair this with, also did The Station Agent, starring Peter Dinklage. And that is a grumpy, lonely, not old man, but middle-aged man, and obviously with dwarfism, who goes to a small town because he wants to watch trains and be left alone, and he's really grumpy. And then a bunch of quirky small-town characters just attach themselves to him. John Leguizamo, a little girl, and a few other people just won't leave him alone until his heart melts and he decides to open up and feel like happy again. And so the Station Agent is a pretty good pairing with.
I love The Station Agent.
That
might be a top 10er for me. I love The Station Agent. Peter Dinklage is awesome.
I remember both those movies coming out and being like, I love this director. Whatever happened to him? He didn't do anything else. And then I looked him up and he did Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done anything since. I think he did one a couple years ago with Matt Damon called Stillwater, and people kind of hated it. But love that. The Visitor, that's the one you were talking about. I've never seen it. It's on my list. I have never.
If you like The Station Agent that much, I like The Station Agent more. There's a little more like whimsy to it.
Mm-hmm.
But The Visitor is a slow movie that's kind of like I said, the premise seems kind of lame, but when you see how it's executed, it's really great.
I went with so my Tom Hanks movie, I've never seen. I've only seen clips of it, but it makes sense to me. It's A Man Called Otto, which is based on that Man Called Ove book. And basically he's just a old curmudgeon that nobody likes, and he doesn't like anybody. And I think, softens his soul a little bit throughout that movie. So that, and then when you said About Schmidt, I thought of Nebraska, which is a black and white movie, but it's about Will Forte's in it and Bruce Dern. And it's that father-son, like, they weren't that close, and then they have to, become closer throughout that. And so I thought that would be a good one. And then you mentioning Shirley MacLaine earlier, Postcards from the Edge, just a or not Shirley MacLaine. That's another movie. No, it is that one. Postcards from the Edge, Shirley MacLaine and Meryl Streep. Autobiography from Carrie Fisher about her mom.
That's right. I've never seen that. I should watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
wait, who was Carrie Fisher's mom?
Carrie Fisher's mom was Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds. That's right. Yeah. And they had a fascinating relationship and like careers too. Man, I should watch that. Especially with that cast. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I will point out real quick before we move on, like we need as a society in a film industry, we need to keep making movies about being old. And it's never going to be a big money maker. But like, you have two types you have this type of movie about being old, which is like looking back and figuring out what life meant and how to approach the last years of your life. And then you have like we're not old, we're gonna go party. Like put on your culottes, girls. Like we're gonna go to age isn't gonna hold us back, and that's all fine and fun. I think those are great, especially for like the grandmas in the world. Like my grandma loves those movies. I love that they exist for her. I think they're fun to watch when I watch them with her. But I like the idea. It's just a topic that's never that sexy and nobody ever jumps at. But I think movies like this are important because they also, even for younger people, help us understand that we are going to be old one day, and we have to like live now in a way that's going to help us like be able to look back at our lives and set up the important things that we're going to be glad we have. It's just a big part of life that we're all a little scared of. And so when a movie kind of gracefully, with a lot of fun and a lot of heart, but also some reality, some bitter pills to swallow, shows us this kind of topic, I think that's great. We should keep making those movies.
Yeah, you talking about that? I found, there was a movie that came out like 10, 13, 12, I don't know how many, 10 years ago, called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And it kind of combines the both of those ideas, like we're not old, we're going to do all this fun stuff. It's a British movie, and it takes place in India. It's very beautiful, but it has all that, but it also has like all the worries and the struggles of being old. It's a great. I loved that movie.
Mixing them together has been done. Movies don't come to mind, but I've seen it where I'm like, oh, I like that. We're gonna go. I mean, this is completely different, but Adventures of Priscilla, right? Like that has a lot of like fun. We're not gonna hold ourselves back, and we're gonna have these moments where we have to deal with these things that we're carrying around with us inside of us and stuff like that. I like movies about old people with old people in them. I think they're both fun and like important too. So I like this movie so much. And, I was surprised by how good it was, but that was one of the things that made me love it.
I think Nancy Meyers is is one of those people that's still doing she does like people that are elderly people falling in love and romance and everything, and like Something's Gotta Give, or what's that? It's Complicated. As like some of these actors are getting into their older years.
Yeah, I thought about Something's Gotta Give as a pairing with, but I don't remember it well enough. But both from the title in my memory, I'm like, oh, that is about like maybe Jack Nicholson for the 80th time playing like an old man who's lets his heart melt.
I just thought of when you were talking about that Broken Flowers, movie with Bill Murray, where he's trying to reconnect with all of his old flames across the country and everything. It's just another movie about getting older and trying to.
That movie always confuses me because that's one of D.W. Griffith's biggest films, silent films.
Oh, it's Broken Blossoms, isn't it?
Oh, that's it. Okay, so I always think of that, and I'm like, did they remake that into a coffee 80 years later?
The only reason I know the Broken Blossoms thing is because it was one of the movies I watched this year. So.
Oh yeah. That's the one where there's like a interracial relationship with like an Asian woman or whatever.
Yes.
Obviously 1920s, so not done the way we would like it, but actually done with a lot of heart anyway.
Yeah, I think my critique on Broken Blossoms was like, she falls in love with an Asian man. There are Asian actors in the movie, but the Asian man is played by a white person in yellow face.
That's fun. Yeah.
But D.W. Griffith, what can you expect?
Yeah, true.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
I put 3. I'd like to rewatch it again one day, and maybe if I live long enough and get in the movies long enough, I'll watch it a couple times. It's not like a yearly watch or anything, and because of its calmness and slowness, it's not something that like, oh, I'm gonna go chase that thrill again. It's just not like that. So I put 3 out of 5 because it's good enough to rewatch, but I'm not gonna run to it.
I agree. I put 3 as well for the exact same reasons. Rate the film from 1 to 5 overall.
I think I gave it a 4. I think it's that good. I think it's that good. It's not perfect. Doesn't blow me away. It doesn't belong in best of all time list. But if movie fans should watch it, it's got a special kind of charm. And what could have been lame with a great script, really good directing. We didn't talk much about that. The direction's really good. Great cast, great delivery, great lines, great music. Like it's just, I don't know. This movie deserves awards for just knocking it out of the park for what they were aiming for.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 4 as well. I think this is a really good script. And there's no wonder it got nominated. I think Paul Newman kills it. I do think, some of the supporting cast deserves some of their flowers here. Melanie Griffith, Bruce Willis, are really, Jessica Tandy also doing great work in this movie. And, it's just really good. I recommend it to everybody. I was really surprised by this movie. So
yeah, me too.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, for doing this. Before we wrap up, I know you've probably been busy doing some things. You were telling me you were doing some moving and stuff like that. But have you watched anything recently that you want to recommend to people?
Movie-wise, I think I have. We watched some Christmas stuff. I had never seen White Christmas. I don't think it's very good. That's all I got to say about that. My favorite Christmas movie, Scrooged, I rewatched.
I love Scrooge.
An old movie that I consider a Christmas movie. I rewatched Meet Me in St. Louis, and I love that movie.
Such a good movie.
I think it's my favorite Judy Garland movie. I think if you like Little Women, if you like MGM musicals, if you like small town, turn of the century vibe, like all these things kind of come together perfectly. The music's great, the acting's great, very charming.
Not really a Christmas movie though. That was like I was trying to watch that. We ended up watching White Christmas as opposed to Meet Me in St. Louis because I was like, White Christmas is like more of a Christmas movie, but
That was a
Meet
mistake.
Me in St. Louis has gave us a Christmas song.
I agree, but I also rewatched It's a Wonderful Life, and Christmas is more of a part of Meet Me in St. Louis than It's a Wonderful Life is.
Yes. I love It's a Wonderful Life. It's one of
I do.
I think it's an incredible movie. But
Yeah.
I have always kind of after I watched it for the first time, I was like, this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It barely takes place at Christmas.
Yeah, I
It's like-
think I think Meet Me at St. Louis. And well, it's funny because like I don't think I was there for the podcast. I think I missed it because I was busy. But I rewatched Little Women for your show, and that has the same vibe where it's like, yeah, this is a family throughout a year or throughout multiple years, but they have like a whole Christmas era in the middle. Or I've talked with people before about like people think Harry Potter is very Christmas or winter focused. And it's a good thing to like binge once a year during winter, but they always have a Christmas scene, and the books always have a Christmas scene. So I don't know. Yeah, there are definitely movies that are about Christmas all the way through. I've rewatched Christmas Vacation this year. Some Santa Claus, Christmas with the Cranks, all of that stuff. Are you there? Oh, sorry, I thought you were frozen.
Yeah, I'm here.
So those are about Christmas all the way through. But I would definitely give Meet Me at St. Louis and It's a Wonderful Life a pass before I give Die Hard a pass.
It's crazy. I've seen where people don't think that Home Alone is a Christmas movie, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's got like
that
a
is
million Christmas decorations all the time, Christmas trees, Christmas presents. They say Christmas, 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 Christmas a million times. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. You guys are idiots. Well, that's cool. No, I'm glad you got to watch that for the first time.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd seen Meet Me in St. Louis before. I watched
White Christmas, I mean, sorry.
That was good to see. We were going to watch Holiday Inn, but we didn't get around to it. My partner loves Holiday Inn.
I do agree with you about White Christmas. I think it's okay. Like, I think it's an okay movie.
I was very bored. And the numbers at the second half of the movie actually have some like musical numbers that I think are pretty decent. But
yeah,
the plot and the characters I don't care about.
It felt like, just kind of a throwaway movie for like Bing Crosby. It's like, oh, I'm not working with Bob Hope right now. Let me, let's do this comedy. And
after White Christmas was a hit because of Holiday Inn, Bing Crosby was like, we should make another movie and I should be the star. I should be the star of it. Like, and you know how big the hit is? We just call it White Christmas, right? And so I think it's remembered very well for that. But White Christmas became a Christmas hit from Holiday Inn like a couple years earlier or something.
Yeah, it's in there. But White Christmas and Holiday Inn both have their problems.
Holiday Inn has blackface, right? That's pretty rough. Yeah.
And then White Christmas has the minstrel song.
Yes, they have the minstrel song where unfortunately they don't do any blackface. That's or right. Soft shoe, but they're like, yeah, come on down to the minstrel show. It's rough.
Yeah. Well, good.
Rough, the last movie I saw for the first time was Joker, Folie à Deux.
And
I'm gonna take a trolley take. I'm just so glad that they did that. I think it's great that they did that. I think it was a choice, and I think it's better than the first Joker movie, but it's still not great. I might be the only person in the world though that feels positively about the Joker musical with Lady Gaga. But I actually pretty well enjoyed it. Its problems, it could be better, but I like the movie. But I don't know who it's for because everybody's mad at the Joker, the original movie, for being like toxically masculine, and then all the people who would like it for that reason certainly don't want to see Lady Gaga do old show tunes. So like,
I still haven't seen it. It's on my list, but I gotta watch it.
Yeah, man, you gotta watch it. You're not gonna hate it. You're not gonna love it either, but it's better than the first movie. But yeah, I might be the only person in the world that has like a more than 50% approval rating on that movie. And I will give my biggest argument being like, hey, in the world where we're rebooting the DC universe for the 8th time and Marvel Phase 19's coming, the fact that they made a Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga Joker musical, like that's a Taxi Driver ripoff. I'm just glad it happened. I'll give movies a lot of credit for being bad if they're trying to do something interesting. And that's kind of that movie.
No, I love that. That makes me really, really want to watch it. I watched Wicked.
Oh, I haven't yet. We were supposed to go. My partner had seen it, said it was great. I'm interested. I listened to the recording. It
was good. I mean, I'm a fan of the musical before that, and I think they did it really well. I hate that it's 2 parts.
Yeah, that's not fun.
I am kind of annoyed by that. I don't want to watch
I
it.
listened to the cast recording, and the whole recording was like 48 minutes, and I'm like, well, the movie's 3 hours, right?
Yeah,
like,
the entire Broadway show is only 2.5.
yeah, it's not even a full Broadway show. I always thought Wicked was fine. It has some good songs, but it's a little mid. It just hit like a mainstream culture, like, level of musical, which always like skyrockets them to legendary status. So I never cared for Wicked that much, but seeing I fell in love. I never cared at all about I never cared at all about Ariana Grande, but seeing her in promos for this movie made me fall in love with her. I don't know why. I just think she's charming and funny and graceful and cool. Yeah,
that the pluses of this movie, I will say, is Ariana Grande is incredible. I think that the character that played, or the guy that played Fiyero, is incredible. I think the Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba, she's incredible. Like,
great. And watching them be friends and TikToks and shit like that, I think was like, I was very charmed by it. And so I'm kind of excited to see it. I also think that all the clips I've seen of the like all the trailers and stuff, like, it looks great. It looks like a feast for the eyes. And so taking the Wicked show that I kind of feel middling about, and turning it into a visual spectacle and like pulling all that stuff out, that's exciting. The way they did the disco remix of that one song seemed interesting. So
there's a lot of cool. Choreography is great. There are a lot of cool practical effects and practical sets design that they used in this that I was really happy with, especially when we're doing. I mean, this movie does have its share of CGI and green screen stuff in there, but a lot of the stuff is, like, production design on this is incredible. So,
yeah. Great.
Dumb.
Chat. Spotify will play like the 10-second clips over and over again.
Yeah.
One of them was of like the huge effigy of Elphaba that they make and burn. And I was like, that looks awesome and wild.
Yeah, that's badass.
Creative choice that's not just, hey, let's milk something that already exists IP for. It seems like they really did put a lot of work into freshening up the material and expanding the world. So I can't wait to see it.
Well, I saw that, and then I saw a movie that I was pretty surprised by, and I would recommend it. It is definitely not for everybody. It is a movie called Dinner in America. It's on Hulu. I compared it to, I said it is Napoleon Dynamite meets SLC Punk meets Garden State. And it took me a full 30 minutes to be like, to get into this movie. But by the time I got into it, I was like, no, I love this. So
Dinner in America.
Dinner in America. There are a lot. Trigger warning.
That movie every night, sometimes twice a night.
Trigger warning. There are a lot of slurs in this movie.
I'm in.
I would like to hear your opinion on it. So
what my problem with Nobody's Fool is? Not enough slurs. If that was a real grumpy old man, he'd be using a lot of slurs.
Seriously, they didn't do their research on old people in this country.
Yeah.
They love slurs. They love saying things they're not supposed to. So.
Right. Yeah. And also, like, his only racist feeling about Jewish people is that they're really smart.
So it's like a positive.
Yeah.
Whoa, chat. Whoa, on that. We do not.
All right,
let's calm down a little bit. All right. Well, other than that, again, Ryan, thank you so much. Of course, you can learn about more of the movies that we're watching and everything by joining our Discord server. We're trying to, get more people on that. But thank you to everybody that has followed this year. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed this year. I really do appreciate it, and hope you enjoy the content that we have here and enjoy watching it without ads. You are always welcome to follow us on Instagram or check out my account on Letterboxd. It's just at CD Waits. If you want to check out that. I will tell you, we're going to go ahead and dive in because Sunday, January 5th, we're going to be doing 52/1995, and we're going to be watching Showgirls as a part of our 2-part series called Bomb.com, where we're going to be talking about movie bombs. So it's a 2-parter, but Showgirls.
That's going to be a fun conversation. I can't wait. I got to have an excuse to watch it again.
Yeah. It is streaming on Pluto for free right now. I hate streaming on Pluto, so I'll probably watch it on VOD. But
it's a long movie to watch with ads.
Oh, my God.
Period. So if you're going to also get ads every 5 minutes or something, that's a little rough.
Pluto is the worst with it, too. And it's one of those things. It's no Tubi. But, okay, that's going to be the end. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you in 5 seconds because I'm going to switch this over and do something else. But that's the end of Nobody's Full, and I thank you all for attending. So that's it. Cut line there. All right. I'm going to move this into a different thing. And Ryan, you're free to stick around if you want, and we can add more people if anybody else wants to jump in here and talk
Do you have
about.
anybody ready to jump in? Because I might disappear and come back in a little bit.
Yeah, I think Alyssa was planning on jumping in, and I put the link out there for other people to jump in. So if you need to take a break and go do your thing, go do your thing.
Absolutely. It's going to be the same link when I come back?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, man.
No problem. See ya. Got to figure out what to do. I can't come in. I have child, but I'll be in chat. Well, that's okay. Welcome in again. That's a hard cut. We're moving this right into our 52 / class of 1994 awards. I'm getting Alyssa in here. She doesn't. I'm going to switch my name back because I'm just Cody at this point. I'm just Cody. We're just Cody and Alyssa just hanging out, living in the same house but in different areas.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
I'm trying to get you into my headphones and I can't.
I got no snare in my headphones. Not just Cody.
How about now?
I can hear you still.
Perf. All right, we're in.
You can
We're in
hear me?
business. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Welcome into our class of 1994 awards. We're going to move into them very shortly, but now that I've got you here, I'll probably give it to you. What are some of the things that you really liked about 1994 or some of the movies that we watched this year?
Well, as someone who has seen nothing, I almost made that my name. Has seen nothing. I was just like, Alyssa's fine. I will, because we've talked about this a little bit. I think 93 had a lot more like surprises, with like ones that we had not really seen, but or they were like, oh, I didn't expect that I was gonna like that. Like we had a lot of that, like with Remains of the Day. This year, I feel like it wasn't a lot of surprises, but the movies that we did have were just great. Like because there are so many classics in 94 that we didn't need to have surprises. Like you have Pulp Fiction, Shawshank, Forrest Gump, Lion King, right? All stuff that we know and love and have heard for the last 30 years for good reason. But there were a couple little things. Like I keep talking about, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I think about Eat, Drink, Man, Woman at least like once every 3 weeks. That movie was, so it has grown on me since we've seen it in February. That's one that stuck out. But yeah, we had a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, I think like as I go through the list, I'm just looking at the Letterboxd list and everything. Like a couple that one, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman was a huge surprise to me. It was early on in the year. I know I liked Nobody's Full a lot more than you did. It was really surprising to me and how much I really connected with that and liked that movie a lot. So I think that I was impressed with that one. Sirens was actually really good, and that was one of the first ones that we did this year.
A lot of Australian movies this year.
A lot of Australian movies.
Siren, Muriel's Wedding, Priscilla.
Priscilla. That was one I had never seen either, and Priscilla was so good.
Priscilla was great.
Sirens did not suck. You can get out of here. Crooklyn. I thought Crooklyn was another one that really stuck out to me from Spike Lee. Spike Lee has one of my favorite movies of all time, and I really enjoyed that one. Trying to think of some other ones. The Serial Mom.
Love Serial Mom.
I knew you would. That's a classic.
I love that one.
Honestly, and then I'm looking at other ones besides what we've got here and some of the ones that I had not seen. The Ref. I really liked The Ref. It was just kind of a middle of the road comedy, but it was kind of surprising and not a bad Christmas movie to add to the list.
True. No, that was cute. I also was happy to see all the Jim Carrey movies this year. Because those, again, had not seen any of them before. So it was now I feel cultured. No.
So cultured now. What about I know I made you watch this for the first time. Speed.
Love Speed. Well, I did enjoy Speed. Speed was very stressful. But I just love Keanu. And that was, I had requested to be the one to watch Speed.
You just wanted to be as thrilled as possible.
Yes, that is all I'm chasing in this life is how anxious can I possibly get?
No, I think it was a good year. I naming off those movies makes me feel a little bit better about 94. I feel like I came off such a high with 93. I have said time and time again that 1994 is like one of my favorite movie years of all time. And I kind of walked away from I was starting to walk away from 94 and being like, oh, this year was okay. Like, there are some great movies, Pulp Fiction, Lion King, Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, like Quiz Show. These are all great. Four Weddings and a Funeral, Chungking Express, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, I love all those movies, but I do feel like there was a lot of like 3 out of 5s this year, 2.5 out of 5s this year.
We also had like Being Human, and even Cowgirls Get the Blues. We didn't just have bad; we had really bad.
Yeah, and so you get those really low lows and like unexpected lows too. You think a movie like maybe a serious movie with Robin Williams that has a little bit more art to it is going to end up being good, and then it ends up just being the worst movie of the year.
Which one do you think was worst?
Oof.
Do you think it was Being Human, or do you think? My opinion is that I think Being Human was the worst, and I solely because yes, even Cowgirls Get the Blues was absolutely terrible. There were at least some parts where if I had to choose which one to rewatch, I would rewatch even Cowgirls Get the Blues.
I think that Being Human didn't say anything or like thought it was saying something profound, and it definitely wasn't accomplishing that. And whereas I don't think even Cowgirls Get the Blues was doing a good enough job about that either, but I think I understood it a little bit more.
Or it was just more like entertaining, like I didn't
silly.
Fall asleep.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Being Human was just very boring, and I can't apologize enough to Laura Jo for watching that movie. I feel so bad. Like, I should apologize to you for even Cowgirls Get the Blues, but like at least we were there watching it together. I had nothing to do with Laura Jo watching that on her own. Poor girl. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about 94. I do think it was it was like it is a 3 out of 5 year or a 2.5 out of 5 year. It's just kind of down the middle. And even some classics that I really love, you watch them over again and you are looking at it in a more critical eye, or you're like, well, I'm actually going to think about this and not just kind of sit back and think about what I watched when I was, 20 something, like a Leon the Professional, or Speed, or Natural Born Killers, or some of these other movies that you were like, oh yeah, this was so good. It's like Boondock Saints. You go back and watch Boondock Saints and you're like, it's okay, it's a good movie. It's not a 5-star movie like 21-year-old Cody thought it was, but I think there's a lot of that here. So Clerks is another one that I would say, like, it kind of falls in that. I love Clerks, and Clerks has my heart, but I do see flaws with Clerks now after watching.
I say Clerks. I mean, that's another one we watched together. I was about to give that a 4 or 5-star review until the last like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
was pissed.
It's okay, and yeah, I understand, Spencer. It's one of your favorites, but yeah, like you just think about things, or you just watch some things that you were like, this was amazing when I was a little bit younger, and it just doesn't hit quite the same as it did. So, yeah. So which one do you think? What is your surprise movie? What is the movie that you watched this year that you were like, that is it? Eat, Drink, Man, Woman?
Yep. I think because we watched it together, and I did I do that stream? I don't remember if that was me or not. I had a lot of opinions on that movie, but and I first watched it, I was like, I like it. It's good. Like, if I was interesting, it was like randomly funny. And the longer I get away from, because we watched it back in February, again, I still think about that movie once every 3 weeks. That's like my Roman Empire. I've recommended it to people, like people I don't know very well. I'm like, oh, like they mentioned something. Like I was on a bachelorette party this summer, and one of the girls was saying how much she loves to cook Asian food, and I was like, I have a movie for you.
That's great recommendation.
Exact. And she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's not really a movie that you recommend to people. Or it's like not, it's like one that people never heard of, or like again, it's a foreign film from '94. Like, who's watching this movie? But I loved it. And I see in the chat, Chungking, I love Chungking too. Like both of those were probably my standouts.
I love that. I love Eat Drink Man Woman was a great surprise for me. I love seeing some of Hong Kong cinema or Chinese cinema or Japanese films or anything like that. I love telling people about Chungking. I think it's great, and it's weird in a beautiful way, and it gives you, like, you watch a movie nowadays like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and you're like, hey, that looks familiar. That's from that. There's inspiration from these kind of movies. So I love that was a surprise and a something that people liked this year, because it makes me feel good about liking it myself. Another surprise, not necessarily good or bad, but fun, was The Crow. I love The Crow. I think it's a great action movie. I didn't end up watching the remake this year because I heard it was terrible, but The Crow lives in this like very unique bubble where I don't think it should ever be remade just because of what happened with it and everything. So it's a good movie though. Trying to think. Have you I saw you in the chat, you're talking about Wicked. Anything, obviously we watched Dinner in America together. Is there anything else that you have watched that we maybe haven't watched together?
No, but I'm still watching a lot of YouTube. We did watch the new Netflix special, Your Friend Nate Bargatze. That was pretty fun. As I'm usually someone who watches like a ton of stand-up comedy, and I feel like I kind of fell off. I favored movies this year over stand-up.
My bad.
Not in a bad way. I mean, I can pick some movies too. I'm the one who picked Dinner in America.
That's true. That is very true.
But,
I was about to be mad. 30 minutes in, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I loved it.
Oh, we ended up really liking it. Again, Rustlers, but very jarring, but fun movie. But yeah, the Nate Bargatze special was very good. Also wholesome, family-friendly comedian, if that's of interest to you, if you want to watch it with your children or parents.
And very funny, like some of those like wholesome comedians or whatever are not very funny, and they're pretty lame sometimes. But no, he's really, really funny.
And he kicks it off with a 9/11 joke, so
it's amazing.
In the money.
All right. Well, do you want to get into some of these awards?
Yes.
Wait, did you say it is family friendly? Yeah, it is. He is very clean. He never curses, doesn't do any of that stuff. So, oh, there we go. There's another one. Muriel's Wedding. I had seen that before, but yeah, Muriel's Wedding, big surprise. Like we were saying with the Australian films this year, I think they were all pretty surprisingly good. For people. I particularly fell in love with Priscilla, and I liked Sirens probably more than other people did, but I liked it. Sirens did not suck. Spencer. So, all right, let's talk about these 52 / class of 1994 awards. Let's get into this. What's our first category? It's going to be the most affectionate, or AKA the sexiest scenes. There were a lot to vote on, but these 3 nominees here are the ones that ended up getting votes or getting most votes. First being Miss Stone in The Office, in The Flintstones. And then we have Nala's sex eyes, or the Can You Feel the Love Tonight scene from The Lion King. And then finally, Tina walking in from the rain. If you don't know that reference, that is Cameron Diaz walking in from the rain into the bank in a red dress. She's wet. In the mask. She's just wet, okay? And so those are our nominees. And the winner is, drum roll, everybody. I love it. Miss Stone. In Fred's office, in The Flintstones.
The crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes Wild. This one was actually kind of she kind of ran away with it. Halle Berry. Yeah, this one, we didn't have very many votes on this, but she was definitely the favorite among the votes. So
Yeah, so unnecessarily sexy.
yeah, in a kids movie, and I mean, this might have been some sexual awakening for some children in the 90s. This might have been the thing. Who knows?
Don't know.
Who knows? I'm very sorry to all of our other nominees, but Miss Stone takes it here in our first category. So I don't know how else. I'm gonna just keep going with this, unless anybody has commentary about it. If you have commentary about Halle Berry, please feel free.
Oh, there's commentary in chat.
Frothing at the mouth. Sheesh. She's wet. I mean, that was me. Anyway, Best Dressed, or the film with best costuming. 3 nominees are Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Maverick, and Stargate. Sorry, I'm laughing at a comment in the chat. All 3 movies here have some have some good costuming a part of them. This is another movie or another category that was kind of taken by one particular person, and it's actually the person or the film that won the best costuming at the Oscars, and it is The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I mean, come on.
I still want that flip-flop dress.
The flip-flop dress is incredible. I was trying to find. I was sifting through all these pictures for these PowerPoint presentations that I put together, and I was just reminiscing about some of these dresses and some of the headgear that they're wearing. There's like one, I don't know if it's with the dress, but there's like, it looks like pool noodles everywhere.
Oh yeah, the goose one is my favorite.
Oh my gosh. It was they're pretty elaborate on all of these.
Mhm.
Wild costumes. I'm always at a loss for costume design. I don't think I mean, sometimes it's Stargate. I mean, think about Stargate. Think about the costumes in Stargate, not just there's a lot of like normal costuming in Stargate, like soldiers and stuff like that. But think about like the people that live there. I mean, the costumes are great there. The, alien, whatever they're wearing, and their side. I mean, it's good costuming. So you're not wrong about what you like. It's just different. So that's what I always say on this. You like what you like.
You like what you like.
You can't be forced to like everybody else's opinions. But no, I think Priscilla takes it. Obviously, it's the people's vote. So screw you. All right, the next one is The Biggest Flirt, and we've got Lumiere here as probably, I think, film's biggest flirt of all time. Lumiere?
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. All right, we've got The Mask. We've got Adam/Felicia from The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And we've got Brett Maverick from Maverick. Those are our nominees. And honestly, this one changed with some last-minute voting that happened. So this was given to one person, and then we got a last-minute vote, and it switched over to...
Yeah.
Adam/Felicia from The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Hey, they're doing
well
pretty
deserved.
good. Yeah, Joseph, you were my last. I had to redo this entire presentation because of your voting. So just know that you changed a lot of votes. I hope you feel good about that.
We needed a tiebreaker for a lot of things.
We did. All right, next one is Best Click. We've got the Double D MCs from Renaissance Man. Got a lot of Renaissance Man nominations in this, probably from Ryan, who's not here. And the Little Rascals is a good click. The Friend Group from Four Weddings and a Funeral. And the ELFSs from The Santa Claus. And our winner for Best Click is the Little Rascals. Couldn't sway this one, Joseph. Sorry.
Oh, precious.
You're voted for the Elves, man? I mean, there were better clicks than that, but I'm not going to... He troll voted this one. Okay. You did it just to make Spencer mad, it looks like. So, no, the Little Rascals. I mean, come on, guys.
They're perfect.
They are... I think we quote the Little Rascals at least maybe once a day. On average, I'll say once a day. because we'll just go off on quotes for time.
Once you start, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's almost like Muppet Christmas Carol or Muppet Treasure Island. So I quoted it to you today. I don't remember what I quoted now. I quote Little Rascals all the time. It's incredible. All right, next category is best friendship. We had a lot of different ones here. We have Dante and Randall from Clerks. Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King. Muriel and Rhonda from Muriel's Wedding. Jay and Silent Bob from Clerks. And our final nomination is Red and Andy from The Shawshank Redemption. And the winner is Muriel and Rhonda from Muriel's Wedding. Yeah.
I'm shook.
You are shook?
I
am
think
this is an upset?
I think it's an upset. I'm pretty sure I also voted for this. But Timon and Pumbaa, or even either of them from Clerks. More like Jay and Silent Bob, but I'm here for it. I mean, they were besties. That the whole movie is about friendship.
I mean, there's a line in the movie where she says, you make me. There's something about ABBA. You make the best day.
Oh yeah,
you know the quote.
When she used to listen to ABBA because like her life sucked and that made her day better. And she's like, you make every day feel like an ABBA song.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's best friends.
I agree.
No, Clerks got robbed. I think Clerks split the vote here. There were two separate Clerks best friends here, Jay and Silent Bob and Dante and Randall, and they split the vote. So you guys need to check that amongst yourselves and really get over it because Muriel and Rhonda won for Muriel's Wedding. Very sad to say.
Would Silent Bob get up and karaoke with me some ABBA? We don't know.
We don't know. Which is your fault. I didn't do anything. I hope everybody is also admiring the photos that I put on the slideshow because I worked very hard on this. I know it's just a PowerPoint presentation, but grabbing pictures illegally is very difficult, especially like higher quality photos so it doesn't look like complete garbage. This is hard, guys.
You did a great job.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. The cutest couple that never was, as I have listed here as Tom and Summer. Were they even that cute of a couple? I don't know, but it's what I thought of today. And our three nominees are, this was a close one, way closer than I thought it would be. The Creature and His Bride from Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Cop 223 and the Woman in the Blonde Wig. That is the first story in Chungking Express. And then Vincent and Mia. That's the John Travolta and Uma Thurman character. Now, I think everybody probably knows who's going to win this one. But it was, like I said, it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And the winner is... It's loading. Mia and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. I mean...
Fantastic.
They had great rapport together.
They did. Like when I first saw this movie, this is one of the few movies I saw prior to this year. I did think that they were going to end up together in the end.
And that definitely does not happen because Vincent definitely gets shot and killed.
Yes.
So sad.
Big bummer.
Sorry. No, the next closest vote was actually not Chungking. It was The Bride and Frankenstein. Or
wow.
Frankenstein is bride, or The Monster and His Bride. Yeah. So
wow.
Next closest. That's crazy. All right. Our next category is most athletic. Only three here. Forrest Gump. The Double DMC is making an appearance again here for Renaissance Man. They're army people, you know. And Mowgli from The Jungle Book. Not really that close of a vote here, but we'll probably all guess it. Run, Forrest, run.
Yes.
I mean, he ran across the country, guys.
Multiple times.
He ran across the country. And I have a Hoop Dreams here. You could have written it in. You didn't. I don't know what to tell you. You could have written in the votes, but you didn't. I don't know what to tell you. He was acoustic. He ran across the country. He was an All-American on Alabama's football team for Bear Bryant. Come on.
He was a ping pong player.
He's a ping. Oh yeah, he's a ping pong player. I mean, that's pretty athletic. I didn't even. And he was in the army too.
So much athleticism.
I. You're in for a lot of disappointment, man. You're not going to find any hate here. I love Forrest Gump. All right, next category. The cutest couple. This one was pretty spread out as well, with one vote deciding this one. We have Alpha Alpha and Darla from The Little Rascals, Jia Jin and Ming Dao from Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. Hey, nice to see them appear on this list for one. We've got Gareth and Matthew from Four Weddings and a Funeral. And we've got Butch and Fabienne. Steven knows that that's not my favorite characters from Pulp Fiction. And then we've got Charlie and Yvonne from It Could Happen to You. So that was an early movie for us. So I don't know what you're bringing up Chungking for. You can look that up on your own. Spencer, you really biffed this whole voting thing. But you all might be surprised by the answer here, but it is Gareth and Matthew from Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yes, that speech. It's that speech at his funeral. It's so good.
And having to be his friend. Like, I'm Gareth's best friend at the funeral.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
It was so good.
Oh, God. Heartbreaking.
Love them.
Love that. The best relationship in that movie, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. All right, moving on to the next one. Most likely to succeed. We've got Ferris Bueller here. Obviously, probably the most likely to most likely to succeed person in all of film. We've got Simba from The Lion King. He, at the end of that movie, he's just taken over as king of the Pride Lands. Andy Dufresne from The Shawshank Redemption, escaped prison, lives in Tuat, I can't even say the name right now. We've got Michael from Reality Bites, who went on to produce a well-loved MTV show, kind of like The Real World, but, different. And then we've got Dr. Alex Hess from Junior making his first appearance on this list. Most of you probably know that the end of that movie, Dr. Alex Hess produced a child in a man's body with no uterus, no anything in there that should work. This is kind of foreshadowing because Dr. Alex Hess is the winner of most likely to succeed in this. He created life where there was none.
Women do it every day.
Yeah, but he did it in a way that women don't do it every day.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
It's the doc, baby. How is this collusion? I mean, I know what I voted for here. And I know what Spencer voted for here, but Spencer hasn't gotten. He birthed the child from his penis. Not the worst movie we've seen this year. No, Sirens was not the worst. You're all wrong. Being Human was the worst movie of the year. Very closely followed up by
Even Cowgirls
with the Blues.
Then Junior.
No, Junior, top 5. Hands down, should be at the end of this.
I need you to watch that movie alone.
No,
I need you to watch it alone.
Guys, if you haven't seen Junior in the way that I've seen Junior, you need to watch it with Alyssa and just watch her face the entire time.
It's a lot of.
The Nick Cage one was the worst. I don't agree with that.
Oh, I like that one.
That was good. Class Clown or the funniest movie of the year? 4 nominations here. Again, Renaissance Man making its appearance. And, oh no, maybe you should subscribe to... Maybe you should subscribe.
So maybe his subscription lapsed.
Wow. So we've got Dumb and Dumber. I'm not waiting on him. Dumb and Dumber, Renaissance Man, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and The Little Rascals. So we've got 2 Jim Carrey movies here: The Little Rascals and Renaissance Man, which only 2 people liked. And Sorry, I'm just giggling through this little thing. The funniest movie of the year is very close call here. Dumb and Dumber, as it
Classic.
probably classic movie, very quotable movie. Probably the most quotable of the 3 Jim Carrey movies, I think.
Hmm.
Maybe Chad agrees, maybe they don't. Who knows? But Dumb and Dumber is. It was
The
the
ma-
first. Go ahead.
The Mask. I was gonna say The Mask, or not. Which one's the Somebody Stop Me?
That's The Mask. Yes.
I'd say that would be a close second.
Oh, nice. See, look at that. New model Smarmy just subscribed. He knows what's up. He hates commercials just as much as you do. The winner is still on the screen, Spencer. It was Dumb and Dumber for funniest movie of the year. So I hope that's what you wanted. I doubt it is though, because
I
you've
think
been
that's
picking.
a good choice.
You've only picked one so far. I think that is one. So good for you. All right. Our next is Best Looking, which I asked everybody to just kind of write in their votes for. And somehow we did end up with a winner here. But we've got Miss Stone from the Flintstones, played by Halle Berry. Tristan from Legends of the Fall, played by Brad Pitt. Bernard the Elf from the Santa Claus.
Love that.
I know that's something for somebody out there.
It wasn't me.
Faye from Chungking Express. That's the second story. She's the short-haired woman. And then Gail, played by Meryl Streep from The River Wild. And our winner for... well, she didn't vote, Spencer. The winner for Best Looking is a 2-time winner here in the award season. We've got Miss Sharon Stone, played by Halle Berry in The Flintstones.
Who
Even though
would
it
have
just says
thought?
The Flintstone here.
Who would have
Yeah.
thought that Halle Berry would be sweeping in a movie that we didn't really like?
She did this in, I think, when Catwoman came out too. She won all the Razzies for it. So,
Oh, really?
oh gosh, we got to get Halle Berry off the screen as quickly as possible. Spencer going wild in chat. So,
Feral.
all right. And now we've come down to Best Entertainer. These were the 5 people. I would have put everybody on here that anybody voted for, but I asked everybody to vote for 2 people. And these were the 5 across the board that we got. So Tom Hanks for his work in Forrest Gump. We've got Samuel L. Jackson, of course, for Pulp Fiction. John Turturro for Quiz Show. He was also in Being Human. He didn't really do good work in that movie, in my opinion, but probably mostly for Quiz Show. He's great in Quiz Show. Jim Carrey for the 3 comedy movies that he was in this year. And Tim Robbins for The Hudsucker Proxy and
Shawshank.
Thank you. I was blanking there. And our winner is, this is a big one, guys. This is one of the last ones. We've got a tie. There were a lot of votes for these 2 guys. So Tim Robbins for Hudsucker and Shawshank, and Jim Carrey for The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber. So
I mean, what an incredible feat for both of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's insane. But to do 3 movies in a year is already crazy, and to star in 3 movies, it's not like Jim Carrey was a side character in any of those. And 2 awesome movies from Tim Robbins. Kind of like, I feel like this was Tim Robbins' year in a way.
yeah, I agree. And I hate that, obviously we see like in the Best Actor race and everything that Tom Hanks wins for Forrest Gump or anything. Tim Robbins, I believe, gets nominated for Shawshank. But like you said, the year that Tim Robbins has there, and a couple performances, they're very different performances too.
Mm-hmm.
Until Joseph's vote at the end, Tim Robbins had this actually locked up. He was the sole winner of this category, but with his votes for Jim Carrey, it tied him. So it's pretty impressive that we've got the tie here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to, this is our final category here. There are more slides, but our final category here is best all around. I've got Jurassic Park. Listed here. No, that was the winner last year. That's why I'm doing this. It's a little,
a nod.
Nostalgic. A nod back. Our best all-around movie, I asked you all to choose, and there were, obviously, next year I'm going to change this, and we're going to do ranked voting, so we get more of a complete thing. But we did end up having somebody pull away with this one. So we've got The Lion King, Chungking Express, Quiz Show, The Shawshank Redemption, Renaissance Man, and Pulp Fiction. I think, what do we have here? 3 of these movies were actually nominated for Best Picture this year, with Quiz Show, Shawshank, and Pulp Fiction. The other 2 not making it. Lion King, obviously, wins Best Animated Movie of the year. Not a lot of times did that animated movie make it into the Best Picture race. Renaissance Man, what can you say? Chungking Express, I don't think it was nominated in the Best International Feature this year.
I feel like that's like a cult classic.
Yeah, especially, for that. So we've got one winner for this, and that winner is, and this one was changed. This was a last-minute vote that ended up getting things changed. And so he has a lot of power. That Joseph vote does. The Shawshank Redemption was the winner. It beat out Lion King.
I think that's appropriate. It should have won Best Movie over Forrest Gump, and this is basically, better than receiving that Oscar is winning the 52/1994 Best Movie of the Year. So
I'll let Frank Darabont know that his movie did so well at our awards show. So, no, I think this one's kind of a shock, and there were a couple of shocks in here. Honestly, like, I thought Pulp Fiction was the clear, number 1 winner of this year, and I know my vote, it was, and people are going to call it, cry collusion or whatever, but my vote was Shawshank. Not because I don't think Pulp Fiction is a perfect movie. When I watched Shawshank this year, I was just like, this is it. This is a great movie. It's about so much more than just prison and I loved it. I think this is a good movie.
Good score, good friendships, good ending, good character development. It's kind of hard to beat. And Pulp Fiction's fun. It's like, and it's Tarantino's probably most recognizable, most like culty one. But I think we're all film connoisseurs here, Cody. Like, we know what is fun film and what is the true winner here. I don't think I voted for Shawshank.
I don't think you voted for Shawshank either.
But I agree with it. I get it. I'm here for it.
I love it. Well, that's it. That's where I honestly don't know where any of the other votes came from. I do it anonymously, so I don't lash out. I do recognize some votes whenever people vote for like Renaissance Man, and I only know one person that liked that movie besides me, and maybe he did the podcast. I don't know. I know where those votes come from. So, and I do know some of the troll votes too. But hey, the voting's final, and I give the people what they want. And just like what I give people what they want, I give them 52/1995, baby. Look at that logo. It's crisp. It's pristine.
It looks incredible.
It looks so good. And that's not all you're going to get from this 52/1995. You're going to get a preview. You're going to get to look at everything that we're doing this year. So if you haven't already perused the list, or you haven't already seen the schedule of things, we've got that listed out for you here.
Yay!
With our current list here. And hopefully this is kind of big for everybody to see here. So January, we've got bomb.com, which is going to be a 2-part series about bombs from 1995. And there were 2 big bombs this year. So next week, like I already said, we're going to be doing Showgirls. And then the week after that, we're going to be doing Waterworld, which is considered one of the biggest bombs of all time. And then the second half of January, we're going to be talking about our categories. You're in the game. And we're going to talk about 2 movies that have to deal with either a board game or a video game here. So we're talking about Jumanji on the 19th and Mortal Kombat on the 26th. Moving to February, we had a theme this past year of February of more romantic movies that we don't typically, some of us don't typically flock to. But that category's name is You Love Me, You Really Love Me. And for that, we're going to be doing a series where we're talking about Before Sunrise, Bridges of Madison County, While You Were Sleeping, which I'm excited for some people to watch. It's a dumb rom-com, but hilarious. And then The American President. So looking forward to that. Any thoughts so far?
I'm excited. Before Sunrise, you've been talking about it since we met, so I am very excited to see it.
I'm pretty pumped for that too. March, as we did this last year, we're going to cover all the Oscar-nominated movies. Not just Oscar-nominated, the Best Picture-nominated movies. So we're going to be talking about Sense and Sensibility. We're going to be talking about Babe, which is a surprise to some that it is Best Picture nominee. I love Babe.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that talking pig. He's incredible. Spencer will probably hate it. He hates talking animals, but Babe's incredible. Apollo 13, we're following up another year of Tom Hanks, and he's just kind of on a roll with Apollo 13. An Italian film called Il Postino was actually nominated for Best Picture that year. And finally, we followed up with Braveheart. So Mel Gibson's Scottish epic Braveheart.
Mm-hmm.
April, we're going to be doing Boys to Men. So this is all about movies about childish men. We give some people what they want, and we give others what they want in this month. This month, we're going to be talking about Billy Madison, Major Payne, Mallrats, Tommy Boy, all classic comedies from this year. And I look forward to talking about those. So got some guests already lined up for that. You show that pig with some respect. Thank you. Babe is incredible. People need to get on board with Babe.
30 years later.
I love Babe.
I loved it too when I was a kid. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Oh my gosh. His voice is not grating. The voice of Babe is the voice of Tommy Pickles. So you should shut your mouth. Fun fact, everybody.
Love her there. Wait, what's her name?
E.G. Daly or something. I think that's what her name is. May, we're going to be doing a category called A White Man. No! We're going to be talking about movies that are all about white men. Just what we needed, right? But we're going to be talking about Rob Roy, which I've never seen. Dead Man Walking. Nixon, which is obviously about Richard Nixon, but Anthony Hopkins plays Richard Nixon in that role. White men don't get enough love. And then Mr. Holland's Opus, another movie that somebody has already claimed for this. So looking forward to that. And then in June, we're going to be doing, starting off our summer season with some blockbusters, explosives, and expletives. We're going to be doing Bad Boys, Crimson Tide, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yes, that means I'm going to watch a Die Hard movie. It's not going to be the first one, but it is in there. Goldeneye, first 007 or James Bond movie that we'll be doing on the pod. And then we actually get to do our first sequel of one that we've already done. So we're going to be doing Desperado, which is a follow-up to El Mariachi that we did in 1993. Ooh, so that's going to be exciting. Yeah. All right, moving on to the back half of the year.
Yeah.
We got Coming of Age in July. That means we're going to be talking about movies like Now and Then, Dangerous Minds, Heavyweights. That's a big one that people have been waiting for. And then Casper, for all the girls out there who fell in love with that little white ghost in Devon Sawa. So
that would be me.
She's pointing at herself here. My favorite month of the year is Crime Doesn't Pay, and that's August, and rightfully so. It's my birthday month. So 7, we're going to be doing 7 on my birthday. Happy birthday, me. 12 Monkeys, Casino, Heat, and Usual Suspects. That's a good year. This is a good year.
Mm-hmm.
September, our theme is Drugs Are Bad. We're going to be talking about Clockers, which is another Spike Lee movie. Georgia, which is a movie that I've never seen before, but after looking it up, I'm really interested to see that movie. Basketball Diaries gets you some Leo DiCaprio in a role that not many people are used to seeing him in. And then Leaving Las Vegas, which is all about alcoholism and sadness, and Nicolas Cage and Elizabeth Shue just
My
being
favorite
sad
topics.
together. Yeah, sad, being sad. October, we're going to be doing all animated movies: Toy Story, Pocahontas, a Goofy movie, one of my favorite animated movies, and anime movie Ghost in the Shell that I've been looking forward to watching. November, I really didn't have a category for this one, so I just threw together something for everyone. And they're all across the board here. A lot of genre films. There's a documentary in here. Some things that I'm really looking forward to. Quick and the Dead, Western. Species, sci-fi. Batman Forever, we got a superhero film. Crumb is about a cartoonist, a documentary about a cartoonist. And Strange Days, which is an alternate future, again, kind of sci-fi, kind of noir. Very good movie. And then December, we're doing all comedies to end our year, and we're ending strong with some of these. Get Shorty, Mighty Aphrodite, which is a Woody Allen movie. Probably talk about Woody Allen then and problematic that is. But then Friday came out in 1995, and Clueless. We're ending our year with Clueless, one of the greatest comedies. So that'll be good. And what is that you said, Spencer, about bonus episodes? You can't see. That's my problem, not yours. Well, we've got a whole new list right here. In January 29th, we're going to be talking about Hey, I Know You, which are all movies done by famous directors that maybe you haven't seen all these before. Shallow Grave, Higher Learning, Outbreak, Sabrina. We're doing those on January 29th. February 26th, we're doing Spencer's specific super sweet month of movies. This is one where Spencer better join me or I'm going to kill him.
It is a month of Spencer.
It is just Spencer's month, and we're going to be talking about movies that Spencer loves. Man of the House, House Guest, Bushwhacked, Tom and Huck. I mean, they can't get any better than that.
We finally get to talk about House Guest.
Oh my God, I can't wait to never talk about it again.
I like that you put it at the beginning of the year so you can get it over.
It's his birth month, so I figured
an Aquarius.
Nice to him. Yes, look at him. House Guest about to be a subathon. You're crazy. All right, in March, we're talking about Who Run the World?
Girls.
Exactly. And these are all movies about women. Women power. We're going to be talking about Waiting to Exhale, Boys on the Side, The Incredibly True Adventure of Two Girls in Love, and How to Make an American Quilt. This will be our third year of Winona Ryder as well, I think. So we got a lot of Winona.
We love her.
We love Winona. Free Winona. Maybe one of my favorite months that we're doing is April 30th. We're going to be talking about youths.
How many Schmidt quotes can we?
I'm only doing Schmidt quotes this year. Angus, Empire Records, Kids, which is going to be a hard watch for some people. Hackers, which is hilarious, and I can't wait for everybody to watch that one. May 29th or 28th, which I know is probably youths. That might be the day before Memorial Day. Whatever. Back to the Future, which are all going to be futuristic movies. We're talking about Johnny Mnemonic, Judge Dredd, Virtuosity, The City of the Lost Children, and Tank Girl. So a couple on there that I'm looking forward to watching for the first time. In June, we're talking about Indie Darlings, Kicking and Screaming, Party Girl, Safe, and Brothers McMullen. These are all very celebrated independent films of this year. So looking forward to watching those. Haven't seen a lot of them. So
Kicking and Screaming, not the soccer movie.
Not the soccer movie. Do not watch the soccer movie with Will Ferrell. Thank you for clarifying. This is a different one. This is about like 20-somethings in college, 20-something men in college that think they're like pseudo-intellectual. It's crazy. July 30th, we're doing Just for Kids, where we're talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, The Big Green, A Kid in King Arthur's Court, and Tall Tale. August 27th, these are all movies that are actually above 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I really wanted to watch them because I have never seen any of these movies. Smoke, Secret of Roan Inish, Exotica, and To Die For. So really looking forward to those movies. September 24th, we're doing all comedies, maybe ones that didn't quite make the cut. A couple I'm not slowing down because I'm reading what's on the screen and people hate that. Like, do I amuse you? Which is a line from Goodfellas. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. We're going to follow up Ace Ventura from this year. Brady Bunch movie. The Father of the Bride Part 2. You might have to do a watch Father of the Bride before you watch Part 2. And then 9 Months. So we'll be doing that. Alyssa's going to join me on October 29th for Slumber Party, where we're going to talk about all these girl movies, I would say, from this time. The Babysitter's Club, Gold Diggers, The Secret of Bear Mountain, It Takes Two, and A Little Princess. So
I love It Takes Two.
It's going to be a great year. And then finally, we're going to do our last extra credit movie on November 26th. It's called Let's Talk About Your Family. And we're going to be watching movies called Home for the Holidays, My Family, and Bye Bye Love. You might think that all these movies are about family, but they're about problematic families. So hopefully some of you can join me for that. And then, of course, give us the month of December off. I thought about it this year, and I didn't actually schedule anything on purpose. And on December 30th, we're going to do a best of episode, our class of 1995 episode. So we'll be doing another award show. Maybe it'll be better than this year's. Who knows? But
who knows?
That's it. That's all I've got for you guys. Happy New Year.
Yay!
It's over. We did it.
We did it.
104 movies down, 52 more to go. Let's just keep this train rolling until I'm sick of it, right?
Yes.
Right. Well, that's it. Anybody's thoughts? Anybody got anything?
I'm jazzed.
Well, you can find those if you want. You can find all those lists on my Letterboxd to keep up with. You can also find the schedule on Discord. It's in a Google Sheets file. You just have to switch to the different sheets on the list there, so you can check those out. Again, that is on the Discord. You can find that there too. Other than that, I really appreciate everybody. I love you all. You've been great. Thank you for subbing. Thank you for following. Thank you for participating. You are some of my best friends. I love you guys. I'll see you in 2025. 2025. Yeah, 2025. I'll see you then.